Well, I think I got to start early today. A couple seconds isn't going to hurt anything, right? Right? I don't think so. Let's see. Oh, let me shut the door first. There's still a little. My yelling doesn't interrupt the entire family's experience of the house. All right, so 3, 2, 1. Here we go. And then we switch to hi. How are you? Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the show. How are you? This promises to be one of the most extraordinary shows. I think. I mean, it has to be, doesn't it? I mean, the president is touting that what we will all see today is the most important speech he's ever given. That's right. If you use an apostrophe instead of a V. And I for one, I mean, I think a lot of us are super excited to see what the contents of a said speech will indeed be. Because, hi everybody, hi Brandon, hi John, hi Victoria, hi Corrine. I don't know if I'm ready for this either. Hi Tina, welcome everybody. Welcome all the Facebook folks and the Twitch folks, bless your hearts. The most, I had somebody, I think it was Stuttering John, wanted to apparently comment on the show on Saturday. He strolled by and decided to watch my show since I've lovingly done his show and run tech support for him multiple times. He thought he'd stroll by and ask me who Johnny Million was. Like he can't ask me in his personal time. Johnny Million's my co-host on WCPT. He's one of my best friends from high school, and one of my best friends, period. And he's a good soul. And it's just, it's not like a secret or anything, right? And so anyways, he's like, I was going to ask you who that was. I'm like, text me. What the hell's wrong with you? And he ends up, he's like, I tried to write something, but it wouldn't let me. I felt like I was being censored. I'm like, yeah, you have to subscribe to be a part of that chat. So it's how I keep the psychos out, kind of. I've got a drifty hair today. This is, hair and makeup would not appreciate this if we were filming. It's just, I had my hair in a towel like 7 minutes ago. Yeah, 2 minutes before I hit go. Right. Anyways, what happened while you were sleeping the all day? Nothing, Janet. I think the only thing of consequence was that Trump has threatened to not sign the Defense Authorization Act, the NDAA, because Twitter's being mean to him. Apparently, it all boils down to the fact that he believes Diaper Don was not a legit trend. That he thinks it was, they did that on purpose. They didn't, it wasn't, not everybody liked it, thought it was funny, and posted it on their own because it was a good joke in reference to the fact that his ass looked fat at the tiny kid's Thanksgiving table and he wears a diaper and everybody knows it. It's not because of that. It's because Jack at Twitter has it out for him. That's why they allowed him to violate the terms of service for 7 years now and not dump his account when everybody else gets put in timeouts for it. Please. Yeah, it was a legit hashtag trend. How could it not be? It had all the elements. A nationwide scandal, the president's nickname, a solid hashtag. It was euphonic, meaning it sounds very good. It trips off the diaper don. It just kind of works. You know what I mean? And so, it had everything going for it. And it would be a shame for those of you that are on Twitter right now to make it trend again. Don't do that. It would be just putting it 5 or 6 times in the same tweet would not, yeah. So this is a good time. And I'm sorry that you feel that Twitch is sucky today. It's being very good to me. I'm even wearing the logo to make up for it, I think. All right, so yes, I do have poofy hair. And yes, I've got the 2 levels from my old short haircut are starting to overlap. This is how you get 70s wing hair. That's what that is. That is the absolute, that is people coming home from Vietnam and then letting their hair grow out equals 70s hairdos. Basically, flat top just grows into this thing. So, anyways, it's a naturally occurring thing. If you appreciate the show, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm going to do this right off the top because I keep forgetting. Please support the show in any way you can. Patreon.com/HalSparks. We're trying to get 500 patrons. We're getting close. We've been squeaking by there. I know people who do watercolors once a month who have 1,000 patrons. I'm just saying. If I bring any joy and pleasure to your life and you have the means and wherewithal, please help us out. By the way, if you saw on the post on either Facebook or Twitter or Instagram even, yes, I even used my Instagram for the first time in forever, Summer and I rescued a dog today that was running around in this, like, I call it a vacant lot in the post, but that really doesn't do it justice. It's basically in between industrial buildings in Las Vegas. There are just big swaths of chunks of desert. And ultimately, her son was in the kitchen, saw it out the window. Ethan saw it. And she's like, oh, yep, that's a dog. And we're like, is there a person with him? It looked like someone in the distance was like squatting near the road and the dog was just kind of running around like they'd taken him and took him off the leash to that thing. But it turned out that wasn't a person. It was a pile of trash. And so the dog was just running around. Yeah. And it was super cute. And we drove around, didn't see it. It was running down. It had crossed the street and was on our side of the street. So it was now running through traffic. So now we have to act. So we get in that car, we drive around, and it's gone. And I was like, considering where it went and what its options are, we didn't see it come down the street. So it probably went through the aqueduct or the gate that allows drainage alongside the houses. So maybe we go back into the neighborhood and drive around. And so if you go into our neighborhood, you go right, it's our house. You go left, it's the rest of the entire neighborhood. And I was like, let's just go left and see if we can find him, or her running around, right? And sure as shit, we turn left, and here comes one of these like construction worker dudes is walking along carrying the dog, just like picked it up. And Summer's like, hi, we're looking for that. I'm like, I don't know why we are. He found it. He could, but no, it's us. It's on us now, which is great. This is why we love Summer. And take the dog in the window, set it in my lap where I think it pees a little, just a little. I mean, I changed when I got home. It was kind of stanky, but it had a collar and one of those like girdle leash chest pieces for small dogs. The little like anxiety sweater that they wear. And so we knew somebody owned it, and it's super and it literally, like, the minute I like held it in my lap, it just fell into me, and it was like, and it buried its nose in the crook of my arm. It was super cute. So we took it to PetSmart because that was the nearest place with a vet to see if we could get the chip checked. No chip. So we just figure we'll take it home. We'll look for missing dog stuff. We've got a little cage we use to take the cats that we foster, to and from the vet and to and from, adoptions and stuff. So we figure we put them in there, give them a little water, a little food, hydrate the poor thing. And as we're coming back, we see like 2 or 3 people all along these big chunks of desert, clearly just wandering around. And we roll up and go like, are you looking for a dog? And they're like, we found it. And apparently it was these folks from Lost Dogs of Las Vegas, and they had gotten a bat signal that one of the dogs they were looking for maybe could have been sort of sighted, and they were looking for him. So we basically said, you guys know who it belongs to? Yeah, we've been in touch with the owner. We have all that kind of stuff. So we gave them a mask, gave them a ride back to their car, ran into this fella, Kelly, who's one of the people at this Lost Dogs of Las Vegas. So hi, Kelly. And they were just sweet people, really amazing, all out looking for this dog. Took it back over there, said basically it needed water. We tried to give it some dog treats, but it wasn't taking them, so it was probably just thirsty beyond measure, poor thing. And because it's been a week, right? And they took it off, and they're going to bring it back to the family. Happy ending. Dog's going to be home. Dog's name is Mia. Yeah, that was a crazy whirlwind. Everything in your house, everything that's going on, complete pause. Everything like, all right, we're setting everything aside. That's it. Sorry. We are now on dog duty. What? Speaking of dog duty, we bring it into PetSmart, And there's apparently a dog that either coming or going from that place was not excited about the trip to the vet at PetSmart or going into PetSmart or leaving PetSmart or was concerned about ownership or had just been holding it during the grooming process or something, because there was literally one of these, the trail of turds going out, like, and it was weird because it was like one for every handicap spot. Like, this must be the most evil dog in the world. Like, that's what I think of handicapped people. Like, this evil dog just placing it. So, yeah. So this is did me a vote for Biden, of course. So this was really, that was an afternoon. Thanks, Ninka. We have a new kind of graphic that comes up. I don't know how that loaded, but it's nice. It works. Rogue M42, thank you. Look at that. So shall we move on to the business of the day? Oh boy. So this is billed as, this may be the most important speech I've ever made, ... Donald J. Trump, 2.4 million bots. This is a 46-minute pre-taped speech. And I can't wait. I almost started to watch part of it because I saw it like a half hour ago. And I was like, what is this? Is this from before? Is this a while back? No, today. December 2nd, 2020. This is it. Good Lord.
This may be the most important speech I've ever made.
Oh, I mean, I can feel it. It's super exciting. This could be. Say it again. Come on, hold on. Whoops, I'm in sound still.
This may be the most important speech I've ever made.
Or may not. We'll find out. Okay.
I want to provide an update on our ongoing efforts to expose the tremendous voter fraud and irregularities which took place during the ridiculously long November 3rd election.
Yeah, that was the problem everybody had, was how long it was. You know what I mean? People voting before, mail-in ballots being counted after. It was ridiculously long.
We used to have what was called Election Day.
Did we? It's funny because we still have Election Day. Yeah. That's technically, it's the day voting stops now.
Now we have election days, weeks and months.
Election days, weeks and months. It sounds nice though, doesn't it?
And lots of bad things happened during this ridiculous period of time.
Great. Well, yeah. I think during that ridiculous period of time, depending on when you're talking about this, I think if we go back as far as the primaries, you've been responsible for the death of 250,000 people.
Especially when you have to prove almost nothing to exercise our greatest privilege, the right to vote.
You have to prove almost nothing. So citizenship, being 18 years old, living in the district, almost nothing. You know what he also called almost nothing? 250,000 dead. It affects almost nobody, I think was the exact phrasing, but pretty close.
As president,
former. I'm just getting a jump on it.
I have no higher duty than to defend the laws and the Constitution of the United States.
However,
that is why I am determined to protect our election system, which is now under coordinated assault and siege.
Siege. Ooh, coordinated assault and siege. And by the way, this man has been president for nearly 4 years. Let's just remember that. Let's remember that the president has been, he knew this election was coming. All right.
For months leading up to the presidential election, we were warned that we should not declare a premature victory.
Right. Yeah. Because of the mail-in votes and because most of your people would vote in person and most of the Biden voters would vote by mail.
We were told repeatedly that it would take weeks, if not months, to determine the winner, to count the absentee ballots.
Nope. You said that. Nobody else said that. Everybody said there'd be a lot of them. Nobody said it would take weeks and months. You're the one who says, we'll never even, maybe we don't even have, will we ever really know?
and to verify the results.
Nope. It's been pretty easy to verify, actually.
My opponent was told to stay away from the election.
Was he? He was told to stay away from the election. That's what you tell the in a democracy, what you tell the other party running for, stay away from the election.
Don't campaign. We don't need you. We've got it.
Is that what he was told? We don't need you to campaign. We got this, bruh.
This election is done. In fact, they were acting like they already knew what the outcome was going to be.
Were they? Because they continued to campaign in spite of the fact that, you know, they made concessions around, of course, the fact that we were in the middle of a pandemic, but they campaigned right up to the very end. They didn't stay away from the election.
They had it covered.
Yeah, I got it covered.
And perhaps they did.
Dun, dun, dun. Oh, wait. What's this?
Was going to be. They had it covered. And perhaps they did, very sadly for our country.
You mean because you lost?
It was all very, very strange.
Was it very strange? It's very strange. The whole thing. Last 4 years have been fucking strange. You're weird. What the hell is this?
Within days after the election, we witnessed an orchestrated effort to anoint a winner, even while many key states were still being counted.
Oh, pointy birds. Oh, pointy, pointy. Anoint my head. Anointy, anointy.
The constitutional process must...
Why'd you cut? Why'd they cut?
While many key states were still being counted, the constitution...
Edit. Edit. This is why you didn't do it live.
The winner, even while many key states were still being counted. The
Look at that. He backed up and they didn't even give the extra breath.
Constitutional process must be allowed to continue. We are going to defend the...
What did you cut out of there? Hold on.
Within days after the election...
Within days after the election...
We witnessed an orchestrated effort to anoint a winner, even while many key states were still being counted. The constitutional process must be allowed to continue. We are going to defend...
They cut something out of that. They must have cut a whole sentence out of that shit. Did you guys spot that? Like there's a total change in tone, total shift in his pants.
Constitutional process must be allowed to continue. We're in effort to anoint a winner, even while many key states were still being counted. The constitutional process must be allowed to continue. We are going to defend the honesty of the vote. We're going to defend the honesty of the vote. Not so much. I love it when he does that that character from Big Lebowski that Philip Seymour Hoffman played. By ensuring that every legal ballot is counted and that no illegal ballot remember to hit those words is counted. This is not just about honoring the votes of 74 million Americans who voted. It's about honoring the votes of 81 million Americans. Voted for me. It's about ensuring that Americans can have faith in this election and in all future elections. We do. Today I will detail some of the shocking irregularities. Let's do this. Basically, what do you think the chances are we are seeing the President of the United States do a sum up of all the Rudy Giuliani videos that have been shot so far? What do you want to bet if we roll back through those Rudy tapes that I've done, this shit is going to end up being, Biden's got 80, 80 plus, he's going to round up to one fairly soon is my point. This is abuses and fraud that have been... It's going to be the same shit Rudy said in his shows. But please give us the specifics that you didn't think Maria Bartiromo was worthy of. Revealed in recent weeks. But before laying out just a small portion of the evidence we have uncovered, I would like to present to you Rice-A-Roni, the San Francisco treat. Why are you back in front of the same fireplace you were in front of for this, where you had the tiny table? Where did it go? And we have so much evidence. So much. A portion of the evidence we have uncovered. And we have so much evidence.
So much evidence. Guys, get your legal pads out. We're going to hear it. He's got plenty of time. We're going to hear specific evidence today from the president of the New York real estate HOA.
I want to explain the corrupt mail-in balloting scheme that Democrats systematically put into place
Okay.
that allowed voting to be altered, especially in swing states, which they had to win. They just didn't know that it was going to be that tough because we were leading in every swing state by so much.
This is the Rudy Giuliani theory that, oh my God, guys, I know we were going to steal the election by 1%, but he's doing so well, we're going to have to print some fresh ballots. Now, granted, if anybody even bothers to look or recount or audit or view these things in the years to come, they'll notice that millions of ballots don't line up with anyone who lives in the district, but by then it'll all be over. Which just goes to show you that this is probably what happened in some of these districts in 2016, and it just didn't go their way this time because they didn't pay enough people.
Far greater than they ever thought possible.
Yes.
While it has long been understood that the Democrat political machine engages in voter fraud.
Has it? Has it now? Because I think you're going back to the 30s in your mentality, but you're also kind of skipping over the whole part where the election fraud part of it, where people are denied the right to vote in mass by the Republican Party. That's where the vast majority of people are being disenfranchised.
From Detroit to Philadelphia to Milwaukee.
What do those cities have in common?
Atlanta, so many other places.
So many other black places.
What changed this year was the Democrat Party's relentless push to print and mail out tens of millions of ballots.
Ballots. What the fuck happened there?
To print and mail out tens of millions of ballots.
Really? Did that word catch you off guard? Did it? In the teleprompter? Was there a drag? Larry, roll it.
Sent to unknown recipients.
Well, no, they were known recipients.
With virtually no safeguards of any kind.
Yeah, virtually no safeguards. I mean, if you throw out signatures, photo IDs in most of these states, if you throw out the fact that their signatures have to match, basically no. If they don't actually have a name on the ballot of any sort,
This allowed fraud and abuse to occur on a scale never seen before. Using the pandemic as a pretext, Democrat politicians and judges drastically changed election procedures just months and in some cases weeks before the election.
Just months and some ways weeks before the election. Gee, what's changed about people's ability or functional way of voting in the last 6 months leading up to the election? What's different about voting, or even indeed going to the grocery store or out in public? What could be what? It might have something to do with the fact that how much they're touting how many billions of dollars were made on Cyber Monday compared to Black Friday this year. You might find a correlation between those two activities. You see.
On the 3rd of November.
Didn't we used to call that Election Day a long time ago? I don't remember.
Very rarely were legislatures involved, and constitutionally they had to be involved.
No. Okay, this is round 2, remember? This is from Rudy's whole thing about the electors for the state have to be chosen by the state legislature and directly, according to Rudy's reading of the law, even though when he read the law, it says they can choose the manner by which the electors are chosen. They have every right to establish that. So in the states that are in question, they established that it would either be the electoral system within the state itself or the Secretary of State in there. So they all passed laws and voted and said, yeah, you can pick the electors. Now he's overlaying these two things, the rules about voting in person, not needing an excuse for absentee ballots in the middle of a pandemic, all that shit. He's overlapping that with this theory about, that they didn't have the right to choose these things, or that they last minute decided. All these bills were passed years ago.
But very, very rarely, and you'll see that.
Will I? Wait, are you gonna have visual aids? Do we have a chalkboard coming out? Is Glenn back there?
As we continue to file our suits.
Lose is the word you're looking for, not file. But yeah, I guess you have to file them before you lose them. So, touche.
It's constitutionally, absolutely incorrect what took place, even from a legal standpoint.
How? Please tell us. Please explain to us. Please explain to everyone. Tell us all, the great legal mind of Donald John Trump, how the Constitution says that state legislatures have the ability to choose, and also the manner in which they choose the electors for their state. And then they did, and then you didn't like it, and that broke what law?
Many states, such as Nevada and California, sent millions of live ballots to every person on their voter rolls, whether those individuals had requested ballots or not.
Terrible. Unbelievable. In the middle of a pandemic, these states sent people. These people didn't want ballots just because they registered to vote, just because they were registered voters on their voter rolls, Republican, Democrat, Independent, and otherwise. Just because you register to vote doesn't mean you want a fucking ballot, okay? Some of them want to die in crowds. And that's what America's about, the freedom to die in crowds.
Whether they were dead or alive.
All these dead people voting.
They got ballots.
Yep. Did they return them? Oh, that was an edit. Look at this. Look at this edit.
Whether they were dead or alive, they got ballots.
Cut.
Other states such.
Back up. Let's just try that again. You started rambling there. Let's cut back to right before that. Let's roll right at the top of page 3.
Whether they were dead or alive, they got ballots. Other states.
Bullshit. Which is why that's where look at this. He was about to say something else, and they're like, "Yeah, you can't say that. We gotta cut that part."
Whether they were dead or alive, they got ballots. Other states such as Minnesota, Michigan, and Wisconsin instituted universal absentee balloting.
Terrible. Universal absentee balloting.
Right in the middle of an election year.
Right in the middle of a pandemic. So you didn't need to have filled out paperwork before to choose it. By the way, it doesn't matter that in the election law of Wisconsin specifically, which is the one where they filed the lawsuits to stop this because they believe that you need an absentee vote application previous. What they refuse to look at is the fact that in Wisconsin, in-person early voting for I guess legal reasons is called absentee voting. Because you're absent from the actual election day. You have a reason why you're not going to be in person. So you can go down to the clerk's office, you can ask for a ballot, you can say, I can't vote on election day because I don't want to stand in line in a big crowd and die. And they give you one of these, and you fill it out right there, and you hand it right back to them. So there's no secondary application. They just call it absentee for the sake of law. Nowhere in this does this violate Wisconsin law. Nowhere in this is anyone voting illegally, because those votes in particular are probably, they're basically in-person voting. They're the same quality vote as happened on election day, because this person not only went to a polling place where they were already listed. If you do early absentee voting in Wisconsin, you have to show photo ID. That's the rule.
sending absentee ballot request forms to all voters on all rolls.
On all rolls. The rolls, that's the problem. Butter rolls, cinnamon rolls.
It didn't matter who they were.
It didn't matter who they were. We wanted them just sent to Republicans, but they just sent them to everybody. This is bullshit.
This colossal expansion of mail-in voting opened the floodgates to massive fraud.
Whoop, that was an edit. Based on what? Based on what? It opened the floodgates to tons of voters who would maybe not have voted because of the inconvenience of it, the inability to take time off work. But because of the pandemic, things shifted a little bit.
Expansion of mail-in
By the way, wait. Watch this
voting
cut.
opened the floodgates to massive fraud. It's a widely known
Look at that cut.
of mail-in voting opened the floodgates to massive fraud. It's a widely known fact that the
It's widely known for, yeah. What did he do? Nod off, and they just took the part where he went, open the floodgates to massive voter fraud. Mr. President, it's a widely known fact.
floodgates to massive fraud. It's a widely known fact that
This is the most important speech he's ever given, so we'll cut him some slack for the amount of edits. He does have the best words, though. It just takes a little cutting to get them in the right order.
the voting rolls are packed with people who are not lawfully eligible to vote,
Based on what?
including those who are deceased, have moved out of their state, and even are non-citizens of our country.
Please give an example other than the dead people who voted for you. Because there's two charges have been filed for people fraudulently voting for a dead relative. Both of them were Trump votes.
Beyond this, the records are riddled with errors, wrong addresses, duplicate entries, and many other issues. This is not disputed.
I just disputed it.
It has never been disputed.
I just did. Were you not listening to me? I'm honest to God, man. I play all of your speeches all the way goddamn through. You can at least pay attention to what I'm telling you.
Dozens of counties in the key swing states have more registered voters on the rolls than they have voting age citizens.
Yeah, that's because, for example, military people, of which a lot of black and brown people actually serve in the military. So in those big cities and counties that you're talking about, they have a lot of those people are serving overseas or they've been moved to another base, but they vote from home. Do you want to throw out military absentee votes? Is that what you're doing? Are you just pissed? Is this part of why you don't want to sign the NDAA because a larger swath of military didn't vote for you this time?
Including 67 counties in Michigan.
67 counties in Michigan. Those people serve in the military.
All of this is evidence.
It's not evidence. It's not evidence. You have to show why they aren't living in the state and whether or not they have a legal residence still in the state and why they're outside the state, perhaps, I'm going to go out on a limb, in a pandemic and aren't coming home.
In Wisconsin, the state's Board of Elections could not confirm the residency of more than 100,000 people, but repeatedly refused to remove those names from its voter rolls before the election.
Could not confirm them based on what? Your phone calls? Or they don't have to bother to confirm them because they're older people and they always voted the same thing and you wanted them to re-up this? You wanted to pay for canvassers beforehand? What counties are you trying to exclude people from that you want confirmed?
They knew why, nobody else did.
Huh? What? They knew what? Why?
Before the election. They knew why, nobody else did. I knew why. They're illegal voters. It is a...
That's why. I know why. They're illegal. I don't have proof, and I Don't. I'm talking out of my ass right now, but I know it. I just know it. You know how you know it, and you know it. Listen to this.
I knew why. They're illegal voters. It is a
Cut. That was sweet, bruh. Dad, that was awesome. We can't do that part better. Let's roll back to the top of the third page and pick that piece up. We might want to chunk that in after the fact. It's a good cut.
I knew why. They're illegal voters. It is a travesty that in the year 2020, we do not have any means of verifying the eligibility of those who cast ballots in an election. And
We do.
such an important election
We have a lot of ways of doing it.
it is, or determining who they are,
Who are they?
whether they live in the state,
Where are they?
or whether they are even American citizens.
Yeah, you do.
We have no idea.
Yes, we do. What are you talking about? I mean, honest to God, does he just think states go, I don't know, the name sounds all right, put it in there. Yeah. Are they citizens? I don't know. Does anybody even know?
We have in all swing states major infractions or outright fraud, which is far more in numbers or votes than we need to overturn the results of a state.
No, you don't, because you'd have to presume that all of those quote unquote missing, illegal, or what have you votes are pro-Biden for that thought anyways, and they clearly aren't. I think you're just pissed that you paid to win an election and you still lost.
In other words, in Wisconsin, as an example,
Yeah, roll us through. By the way, this is evidence so far. He said it, so it must be true.
where we were way up on election night,
In the in-person vote, yeah.
they ultimately had us miraculously losing by
Miraculously.
They ultimately had us miraculously
Miraculously.
losing by 20,000 votes.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you lost by 20,000 votes.
And
Your own recount in the places that you thought were suspect actually led to more Biden votes being found.
I can show you right here.
Let's do it. He's got a prop box. I can show you right here.
That Wisconsin,
This is the president of the United States. Okay? This man is allegedly a billionaire. It is 2020. They pre-taped this shit. You can't throw graphics up on the goddamn screen? Why is he pulling out paper like this trip to Kinko's bullshit?
we're
Hold it
leading
up.
by a lot.
Are you getting this? Are you getting this? Are you getting it? Is that mommy?
At 3:42 in the morning,
Uh-huh.
there was this.
Yeah. When the in-person early votes that had been held in county offices, the drop-off boxes, and the large swath of mail-in votes were brought to the counting center, bing, they largely went to Biden. Now, you were, quote, winning by a lot, but only if you don't ever expect the other half of the state to vote.
It was a massive dump.
I guess, oh God. I guess we should have expected that. I should have not been caught off guard by that.
Morning, there was this. It was a massive dump of votes. Mostly Biden.
Mostly Biden, so not all. So why in their secret vote dump are they giving you votes? Hey man, I got all those Biden votes printed up. Print up some Trump ones so it doesn't look skeezy.
Almost all Biden. Mostly Biden. Almost all Biden.
This is a grown man. This is a grown man in the White House pre-taping this shit. I don't know. He's probably shitting his pants. Maybe that's what they're cutting out. Maybe that's what these edit turns are, is him evacuating his bowels.
And to this day, everyone's trying to figure out, where did it come from?
No, we know exactly where it came from. It came from the Democratic voters of Wisconsin in a swing state, which has a very small margin. Had a tiny margin in 2016, had a smaller margin this time, had a lot of voters. And because of mail-in voting, a lot more people were able to turn out both for Biden and for you, dummy.
But I went from leading by a lot to losing by a little.
Well, yeah, good night, folks. That's all we need. Look at that man. Look at that man's face. Holy shit. Have you ever seen a face that says womp, 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 more than, I mean, seriously. Seriously. Jesus Christ. He's trying so hard. Jesus Christ. Oh, God. All right, keep going. I can't get over the fucking face. Look at him. Oh, God. This is so beautiful. Oh, God. Whew. I had hopes for this one. You know, I don't pre-watch these things, guys. But God, this is surpassing even my expectations.
And that's right here. That's at 3:42 in the morning. That's Wisconsin. A terrible thing.
It's almost as if at 3:42 in the morning, they uploaded all the votes they'd gotten by mail since midnight and entered them at one point. Because I doubt that a big truckload of fake dead people ballots came in and somebody went, bing, 10,000. Like, you have to count them.
Yeah, that's at 3:42 in the morning. That's Wisconsin.
That's when you lost, right? You can almost track the what's the astrology, moon sign of your loss in Wisconsin?
A terrible thing. Terrible, terrible thing.
Terrible.
But we will have far more, many times more, than the 20,000 votes needed to overturn the state. If we are right about the fraud.
You're not. You're not. And by the way, if you just came out to tell me you've got a lot of evidence and you're going to show me this friggin' evidence, we're 8 minutes into this thing from his end. If you're going to show me that, then, by God, you can't go if at this point in your statement.
Joe Biden can't be president. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of votes. We're talking about numbers like nobody has ever seen before. Just as an example.
Look at that edit. Holy shit.
We're talking about numbers like nobody has ever seen before. Just as an example, in certain states.
Yeah, just give us an example.
We'll be down by, let's say, 7,000 votes.
Let's just say it. Let's just say 7,000. Call it 7,000. 8. Why not go to 5? I don't know. It doesn't really matter. It's a fake number anyway. So let's just tell me.
But we'll find later on.
Yeah.
20,000, 50,000, 100,000, 200,000.
Mail-in votes?
100,000 discrepancies or fraudulent votes. And that includes votes that went through when they were not allowed to be seen by Republican poll watchers.
Oh, that's the other Rudy talking point. That there were people, our people got turned away. They were thrown out of buildings. They were thrown off of rooftops. It was like a Russian hospital in there.
Because the poll watchers were locked out of the building.
No, they had 200 poll watchers in there, and 300 of your assholes showed up, and they're like, "Yeah, we're over quota. Stand over there."
For people that innocently came to vote on November 3rd,
Oh, proud woman story.
who were all excited about their vote,
Oh yeah,
they were happy. They were proud to be citizens of the United States of America.
I'm so proud to be a citizen of the United States of...
And they went up and they said, "I'd like to vote."
they walked right up. They said, all of them, tens of thousands of them, in a big crowd, old ladies, poodle in hand.
And they were told that they can't vote.
No, you can't vote. You cannot vote. Proud citizen of these United States, you can't vote.
I'm sorry, they were told.
I'm sorry, you can't vote, even though you're a proud citizen of this United States of America.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry again. How many times do I have to say I'm sorry, okay?
You've already voted.
You can't vote. You have. So I guess I can vote. I'll see myself out.
By mail-in ballot. Congratulations.
Is that what they say? Congratulations. It says right here that you already mailed in your ballot and you're here trying to vote illegally a second time. Officer, give her this proud woman her congratulatory prize of jail time.
We received a ballot, so you can no longer vote.
So they already voted.
They didn't know what to do.
I was told by my president that even if I mailed in my ballot, I should return here and vote again as a proud American citizen and a Trump supporter. Even if you mail in your ballot, he said, in August. It wasn't even that long ago. Mail in your ballot, but then go vote again, he said. And here I am to vote again, just as my president told me. So I love him so much, I want to vote twice for my president. You can't, that's illegal. Oh, I'm brokenhearted.
They had no one to complain to.
No one. There was just poll workers and election judges and people standing around. They had no one to complain to. They just went home and screamed at their cat.
Most just left.
Yeah, that's what you do when you find out you've been defrauded out of your vote. You just walk away. Most just leave. You've already voted. Oh, shit, right. Nah, okay, thanks, bye. Seriously. Anyone within the sound of my voice, you go in on election day, you didn't vote by mail. You did not. And you show up and they go, oh, sorry, we already got a ballot registered. You'd go, yeah, I didn't vote. Yeah, you did. Would you just go away? Like, I don't know who to even talk to about this. Really? Especially a Republican voter, all the like voter fraud hotlines they showed up. Now, I mean, it wasn't like they trolled for people to call in or anything.
And said, "That's strange."
That's strange. That's what they said. It's strange. I love this play, by the way. It's getting better every time he tells it. Back up.
No longer vote. They didn't know what to do.
Hold on.
By mail-in ballot.
You already voted by mail-in ballot.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
We received a ballot, so you can no longer vote.
We received a ballot because you already voted.
They didn't know what to do.
I don't know what to do. If I tiptoe out of here, maybe they won't throw me in fucking jail for trying to vote for Trump twice.
They had no one to complain to.
I don't know who to call out for. I stand here in the middle of a place, a proud American. I don't know.
Most just left and said, "That's strange."
That's strange, but fuck it. Who wants the root beer?
But many people complained and complained vehemently.
Yes, they did. It was vehementous play, and yeah.
And in a lot of cases, they filled out a provisional ballot.
Right. They filled out a provisional ballot and called no one because apparently they had already voted. These are, ladies and gentlemen, apparently voters so dumb they could only be Trump voters.
which was almost never used.
Oh, was it? How do you know? By the way, a lot of people vote provisionally, and after they verify it, it gets counted. It just doesn't get counted on election night, which is apparently when you think votes no longer count.
But in virtually every case,
Virtually every case. I mean, that he's looked into.
was a vote for Trump.
Yes, I believe that. Every idiot who walked into their polling place and said, I'm a proud American and I want to vote. They said, you already voted by mail. I still want to vote. You can't. You already voted for... That's strange. I can't vote twice? No, you cannot. You can fill out a provisional ballot, but if your other one, if your signature matches on your mail-in one, we're going to include that and we'll throw this one out. Who do I complain to? There's nothing to complain about, asshole. You can't vote twice. If you're confused about that thing, then fill out a provisional ballot. There's a discrepancy between this and your actual ballot. It goes into a pile. When we look through the provisionals, they verify that your ballot came in earlier, whether or not you voted, and they match the signatures. And if you tried to vote twice, you're violating the law. And if it didn't, they're going to investigate it after the fact. This is just like, there's only a half a dozen assholes who try this shit.
In other words, they went in to vote, and they were told that they voted. And they didn't vote. And they
You just said they voted provisionally.
left, and they felt horror.
Horror. You're an errand boy. You bring me my ballot. Horror. I swallowed a bug.
And they lost respect for our system.
Did they? They lost respect for the system, did they? They didn't actually think like, hey, maybe I'm a dumbass.
And this happened tens of thousands of times all over the country.
Everywhere. Just every Trump supporter that you told to try and vote twice was told to go pound sand, or in some red counties, allowed to vote twice provisionally and their other vote got kicked out. And this is whose fault? Because I'd like to remind everybody that this asshole told his voters to try and vote twice. Are we shocked that tens of thousands of Trump supporters tried to vote twice and were told to fuck off?
That's how desperate the Democrats were. They would fill out ballots
Ugh.
of people, not even knowing if these people were going to show up. And when
Well, and apparently the only ones who did went, oh, that's weird. I guess I voted. Did I vote already? I guess I must have voted. Okay, all right, cheers. See you later.
they did show up, they said, sorry, you've already voted.
Sorry.
And
That's
the
what they... At least they were nice about it. I do appreciate that the apparently 100% Democratic poll workers in very red districts were at least sweet about it. Sorry. I'm sorry. It just says right here, these numbers don't lie. It says you've already voted. I did? Yeah, it's right. Yeah, right here. That's you, right? Mm-hmm. That's your name? Mm-hmm. Ballot received? Mm-hmm. So can I help you in any way? Well, I would like to vote. You did. I'm sorry, but you did vote. I did? Yeah, you did. It's right here. That's strange. Do you think you didn't vote? Do you think this is fraud? No, I'm not saying that. I mean, I don't want to, I wouldn't even know who to complain to. Well, I'm talking to you right now. I can bring a supervisor over. The list is right here. I'm sorry, but it says your vote's already been turned in. It has? Yeah. But I want to vote. You did vote. I know, but I want to vote again. Because I'm concerned about that vote. Why? Well, I mailed one in, but I don't think the one that I mailed in is going to get there. Why? Because the president's in charge of the post office, and he's my candidate. But what if he thought I was voting for Biden? I do have a blue hat I like to wear. You want to fill out a provisional? I would. Thank you. Okay, please do that. Okay, thanks. Jesus Christ.
top of everything
I think my play's better.
else, we have a company that's very suspect.
Oh, this is ES&S? We're going to go into ES&S?
Its name is Dominion.
Oh, I see. I should have guessed.
With the turn of a dial or the change of a chip,
The turn of a dial and the turn of a dial. Fuck, this is an old machine. The turn of the dial. Hold. The turn of a. I almost got it. You went too far. That's a Trump vote. Sorry. Oh, Biden. Good. Turn of the dial. Fucking hell. Just and this asshole. Have you ever? Okay. I'm going to show you guys something real quick. Hang on 1 second. I'm going to bring in probably the biggest prop I've ever brought in for the show. Enjoy the confused look on his face till I come back. Okay. Oh, son of a bitch. All right, here we go. All right, see this? See this, guys? Ugh. All right, see this son of a bitch? This is my old Mac Pro, right? This is what I did, like, preliminary edits on Lab Rats with. This is what I did 2 short films on this. I used to do a bunch of, like, sketches with this thing. It's built out to, with a extra video card, okay? Now, the chip that runs this thing, the mainframe, the actual, let's see if I can get these, I don't know, we have to, it's been so long, this side, here we go. The side of this thing, oh, it's upside down, so it won't do it. Hold on, oh gosh. Oh, good lord. All right, so this guy, this thing, just so you're aware, let me take this guy off. There you go. So, I still have this guy because you can buy newer chips, and if you go in, I don't know if you can see deep enough in there. I don't know if we can see it, but baseline over to the left, behind the big heat sink above the video card, is the chip that runs this fucking thing. Now, I have a massive chip. I'm just telling you. So, I can, if I want to, get one of the newer Intel chips and remove the old chip in this thing and upgrade it. Because this is a pretty versatile machine. It's still got a lot of potential life in it, okay? And over the years, I make a point to, when I do buy a computer, because I dick around with them a lot, as you guys well know, I tend to move towards ones that you can modify yourself, with rare exception, okay? And so, like, my first Mac that I bought with my own money was a Mac 2CI, because it was the first one that you could put your own, like, PCI cards in. And the only one available was an audio card that you could go in. It was first time you could have 4-channel audio in a Mac, okay? It was huge, right? And so, every time I've upgraded, with the rare exception of the Mac planter box, the Mac Pro that I got over there, which I love that computer, but it's a mistake because you can't upgrade the hard drive without a firmware issue. And, like, I understand. I've dicked around with a lot of these things, my point. I can remove the chip in this thing, though, and upgrade it, right? This is part of what you can, do with these things. The process to do it takes a fucking day, because you have to remove the chip and you have to put this sort of gooey sealant on to attach it to the heat sink. That when you swap a chip out and it's one of those things where, like, oh, it could work, or I could ruin the computer forever. And this is if you're replacing the chip that's actually on the motherboard of the thing, right? The main chip that runs it that does all the calculating and all that kind of stuff. If you can't just pop that sucker off. And any of the other ones that are on there that aren't written into the actual circuit board itself, more than likely don't control the voting and shit. They don't control the tabulation of the goddamn machine. They just don't. Yeah, it's the processor, exactly. So the chip he's talking about, though, is the processor on these things. This is the argument. This is the problem that I have with their argument. So when he says chip, he means the main processor of the machine, because the machines themselves don't do any other tabulation. Exactly. You have to use thermal paste to put a new processor in there. The other chips that he's talking about don't come off. They're not built that way. And if they are, it's a fucking he's got this idea that it's like real genius, where nobody's going to notice that they swapped out the goddamn things. So let me explain to you how dumb this motherfucker is. So, and I know some of you are like, you're dumb for trying to fix that machine up. Just fucking turn a dial and flip. Listen to this bullshit.
It's Dominion. With the turn of a dial or the change of a chip.
Yeah, just change the chip. Just change. That's all you do. You just change the chip, guys. It's super easy. I mean, how fast do you want it to happen? I could do that. Change of a chip. Turn of a dial. Fucking hell. Why don't you just bring up anvils while you're at it?
You can press a button for Trump.
Jesus Christ. Dials, chips, buttons. What the fuck is this machine?
And the vote goes to Biden. What kind of a system is this?
It's a fantastical system you made up in your increasingly hollow skull.
We have to go to paper.
Cheers, everyone. The Republican Party has finally come around to verifiable paper ballots. By the way, the Dominion machines produce paper ballots.
Maybe it takes longer, but the only secure
You know that mail-in ballots are paper, right?
system is paper.
You do realize that mail-in ballots are paper, right? In-person voting, where you go in on the day and you push the buttons on the machine and you say the votes are, they go into the vote. Yeah, that one, in person, that's where machines in the past have swapped votes and they've had to fix them. But mail-in votes, there is an actual receipt.
Not these systems that nobody understands, including, in many cases, the people that run them, although unfortunately, I think they understand them far too well.
All right, dummy. This is so dumb. These people don't even understand these strange magical contraptions, but I bet they actually do.
In one Michigan county, as an example,
Okay, just one Michigan county. Give us an example. What happened?
that used Dominion systems,
Okay.
they found that nearly 6,000 votes had been wrongly switched.
Well, they found that, did they? They found that. When did they find that? Before the vote was certified? And they corrected it? In one Pennsylvania county, 17,500 votes had been given to Trump that were actually Biden votes. They fixed that too. Was that what made you mad? Was that what made you mad? That the glitch that affected you, it just was less votes because it was a smaller county, whereas the bigger counties that you were trying to steal votes from Biden, it just didn't work out.
From Trump to Biden.
Yep. And in Pennsylvania, they went from Biden to Trump.
And this is just the tip of the iceberg.
No, it is the entirety of the 2 ice cubes.
This is what we caught. How many didn't we catch?
That's right. How many Biden votes were given to Trump on ES&S machines throughout Florida, Kentucky? Those are the machines that don't have paper.
Are there hundreds of other?
There might as well have to be. Yeah, you know, if they found some stuff on that night and they caught it and they fixed it because it didn't match up even to the people who were there, then even after, you know, obviously, if you paid another $3 million in Wisconsin, maybe you could find more votes for Biden.
Examples throughout the country?
Yeah. I mean, look, if, honestly, there are tens of thousands of car accidents every year. I don't know why anyone still drives. Mr. President, maybe you can explain.
Are there thousands?
Are there dozens? Are there one? Is that proud woman going to jail?
We just got lucky.
Did you? Yeah, you seem lucky.
And they called it a glitch. But we found numerous glitches that evening.
Did you?
96% of the company's political donations went to Democrats. Not surprisingly. And frankly, when you look at who's running the company, who's in charge, who owns it, which we don't know.
Yeah, you do. It's registered in Denver. I mean, you're the president of the United States. You don't know? Look it up. Am I like...
Where are the votes counted?
Where are the votes counted? I mean, are the votes counted? Do the votes get counted? Are we counting the votes?
Which we think are counted in foreign countries, not in the United States.
You think? Sorry, you have access to the CIA, the DNI, Homeland Security, and you don't know? You don't know. You just don't know. You don't know. Maybe you're the worst president ever? You couldn't figure this out?
Dominion is a disaster.
Is it? For you? One would argue that you could at least make the case that Dominion is perfectly fine, and the disaster is actually the ES&S machines.
Election authorities in Texas have repeatedly blocked the deployment of Dominion systems due to concerns about security vulnerabilities and
the inability of Republicans to steal elections using them. It's been it's difficult. I mean, honestly.
Potential for errors and outright fraud. Every district that uses Dominion systems must be carefully monitored and carefully investigated, but not only for the future. Right now,
because I'm losing, and what the hell am I going to do?
We're worried about the present.
You should be.
And what went on with an election that we won without question.
If you won without question, why are there so many questions about it? Seems curious, does it not?
Under my lead, the Republicans...
Well, lead. I mean, is there really leadership going on? This looks like a panic attack.
...won almost every state house in the United States.
Oh, so we shouldn't believe their votes. So we should believe that we shouldn't seat any of the Republicans. If they won their districts and you didn't, clearly they're probably anti-Trumpers, probably Democrats, maybe got you coffee once, but you really don't know them.
Which they weren't expected to do.
They weren't?
We won up to 16 seats in the House.
Yep, because people voted across ticket.
The numbers are still being tabulated because there are 9 seats that nobody really knows. They don't know this.
They don't know. These people don't even know these 9 seats.
Still, 2 weeks later, still under consideration. They're
under consideration? Are they? Or are they just tabulating?
Because it's a mess.
Is it? It could be that these states are gigantic and have lots of people, and they know what the general swath of it is, but they continue to count the votes, so they have the absolute number, but they can even certify it once the percentage gets so far ahead that they can... Obviously, the vote is going to go to one candidate or another because that person is ahead by a margin that will not be made up by any amount of the votes coming in. And they also know it's the same way that states are called in the media, but it's just the state's version of that. They ultimately have to do a full logging of the vote, but But if you're worried that you lost Texas, we'll wait.
Republicans were supposed to lose many seats, and instead they won those seats in the House.
Huh. Well, if you can't... and a lot of them were in Dominion districts. That's weird. Why would Dominion give control of, would seek to give control of the House to Republicans if they were so against you?
And a very important election that's coming up will determine whether or not
what? Your diaper's full?
we hold the Senate. David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler are two
Or Loeffler. Either way.
tremendous people.
Are they? Because apparently your former attorney doesn't think so. We'll look at that video in a minute.
Unfortunately, in Georgia, they're using the same horrible Dominion system. And it's already been out that
You mean where the former Republican Secretary of State ran against Stacey Abrams, manipulated the vote to get himself in office, but suddenly decided, even though he's one of your fart sniffers, that he just doesn't like you anymore, so he's going to throw it to Biden? He's going to endanger his own governorship. He's going to endanger his own shot at the presidency eventually, because obviously your base is his base, just 'cause.
hundreds of thousands, think of it,
I'm thinking.
hundreds of thousands of absentee ballots have been requested.
Okay.
You check it out. Who's requesting those ballots?
I'm guessing people who don't want to be in large groups during a pandemic.
The difference is it's one state, and we will have our eyes on it like nobody's ever watched anything before, because we have to
Really? What's the standard? You looking at your daughter's ass every time she leaves?
win those two Senate seats. The tremendous success
Look at that edit. Jesus Christ, man. How hard is this speech? Does he just wander and they're like, get back? He's starting to drift again. Cut. Get back on the page.
because we have to win those two Senate seats. The tremendous success we had in the House of Representatives and the tremendous success we've had so far in the Senate.
You lost seats.
Unexpected success
No.
all over the country and right here in Washington.
Right here in Washington? What do you think? Do you think you won D.C.?
It is statistically impossible
No, it clearly isn't.
that the person, me, that led the charge
Me, that led the charge. It's impossible that Republicans voted for Republicans and not me. It is statistically impossible that enough Republicans voted against their favorite president and for probably a rhino or a member of the Lincoln Project.
lost
I just want to hear him say that
in
again.
Washington.
Uh-huh.
It is statistically impossible that the person, me, that led the charge lost.
Lost.
The greatest pollsters, the real pollsters, not the ones that had us down 17 points in Wisconsin when we actually won.
Or you actually paid someone to scuttle mail-in votes, and you had them delay, the votes from all over the state, and you were actually way farther down. But Louis DeJoy helped guarantee that a certain number of mail-in votes would never make it in time to be counted, or would be thrown or destroyed, or that. I mean, if we can't trust this system at all, why can we trust what you're saying about this system? You're in charge of it.
Well, the ones that had us down 4 or 5 points in Florida, and we won by many points,
Yeah, because there's never been any shenanigans in Florida.
or had us even and down in Texas, and we won by a lot. Not those pollsters, but real pollsters. Pollsters
By the way, the President of the United States, in his weird, super edited speech that he's giving in the site of his Thanksgiving dinner, kids' table gathering, is claiming that you should not believe the election of the United States because of his own internal polling saying he's doing awesome.
that are fair and honest said we can't understand a thing like this. It's never happened before.
Well, that's all the evidence you need. The people you pay to tell you you're winning go, I don't understand, huh?
You led the country to victory, and you were the only one that was lost. It's not possible.
Yeah, that's what a balanced pollster would say, wouldn't it? I mean, honestly, what else are they gonna say? Sir, I don't understand how this is happening. You led the whole country to extraordinary heights. You are literally the Ubermensch, the savior. This country has been. You are capitalism. You are literally the penile dangle of capitalism, made human in flesh. And yet, how could you? We told you you were winning. How could this possibly be wrong? No, you didn't misspend your money on us.
The Speaker of the House of a certain state said, "Sir, I expected to lose my seat. And instead, because of you and because of that incredible charge and all of those rallies, we had a tremendous victory.
Great.
And everybody knows it."
But I mean, since the machines in my district are phony because you lost, then clearly I can't rightly take my seat, so I'm going to step down. Is that what he said?
You were much more popular than me, sir. Except I got many more votes than you did.
What's up? It's almost as if people don't know who their state representative in their state legislature is, or just kind of perfunctorily vote for the person who's already there. But they know that they hate Trump. It's weird.
And it's impossible that that happened.
It's impossible that it did happen.
There is something wrong.
Something sketchy. How do you know? I get this feeling that,
I'll tell you what's wrong.
Tell me what's wrong.
Voter fraud.
Oh, voter fraud is so wrong. I agree. When somebody lives in Washington, D.C., has moved out of New York to D.C., and then somehow registers to vote in Florida when they don't even have a living quarters there, what is this world coming to?
Here's an example.
Okay.
This is Michigan.
All right. Oh, we got another one.
At
This is a two-charter so far.
6:31 in the morning,
6:31 in the morning.
a vote dump
A big dump.
of 149,772 votes came in.
Did they come in or were they counted? See, that right there shows you the counted votes.
Unexpectedly.
It didn't. Why was it not expected? Who was expecting a volume of votes in a pandemic, a specific volume of votes that, oops, I just noticed my little light's off. My face is cut off. All right. So, how is it unexpected? Because your people thought they were done cheating? What do you mean?
We were winning by a lot. That batch,
You were winning by a lot because they were only counting the in-person vote, and then the majority of Biden voters were voting by mail, and everyone's vote counts. You don't get to cut off the vote while you're still winning. And you weren't ahead. You were ahead in the count, not in the vote. Ahead in the count is not ahead in the vote.
was
Was
received in horror.
horror. Oh, aghast. My lord, another truck hath arrived, full of Biden votes, clearly.
Was received in horror.
Oh,
Nobody knows anything about it.
apparently not. Maybe ask the Secretary of State and the electoral, whatever they're, I don't know which state's he talking about? Did he say?
That batch was received
Uh-huh.
in horror.
Oh,
Nobody knows anything about it. By the way, there's your line.
there it is. That's that little line where they inputted all the mail-in votes they'd been counting.
This is one of many. Here's what is normal. And all of a sudden, look at that. This is normal. Normal? Look, even here.
Yeah, look how normal it was. It was so normal when we only counted in-person votes.
And then boom, all
And then boom, there was then they start counting and I'm going to guess the state he's talking about is the one where they're like, you can't start counting these until the next morning. Well, what's the next morning? 6 o'clock. All right, well, we'll tally them and then we'll upload the vote in the morning. Okay. Because they don't get counted until they're actually uploaded, so we'll just tally them so we can get ahead of the work. All right, that seems reasonable. And then they all get uploaded, and then the rest of it is a mix of the mail-in vote because they're done counting the in-person votes.
of a sudden, I go from winning by a lot to losing a tight race. It's corrupt.
No, it isn't. You're a dummy. You are a stupid man. You are a fool. You are convinced of that your farts smell like roast beef, and you are attempting to break your neck stuffing your head up your own ass. This is nonsense.
Detroit is corrupt.
Is it? Corrupt is, by the way, is kind of basically black is what corrupt means. I get it.
I have a lot of friends in Detroit.
No, you don't. You don't have friends anywhere. You have no friends. He has no friends. He doesn't have friends. He has business people who think they can get something by hanging out with him. He doesn't have any friends.
They know it.
No, they don't. Did they call you? Did they go, I don't understand this. You've got friends here. Why were we not able to throw this?
But Detroit is totally corrupt. Look at this.
Look at that. It's almost as if they were uploading the votes that they tallied all night from the mail-in vote.
Look at this.
Look at that. It's unbelievable. Hold it up higher.
That's at 6:31 in the morning.
Terrible. 6:31. Who gets up that early with that kind of horror?
Unexpectedly came in.
They didn't come in. Those votes, they didn't come in at 6:30. Like, all right. It takes time, even if you were, let's say, we're doing some sort of fraudulent voting. Let's just say they're going to bring in truckloads of printed ballots that they're going to count. This is Rudy's idea. This is what he's been selling to him. Let's say they get brought in. When were they brought in that they were counted that quickly? That makes that big a spike? When? Seriously.
In the recent recount in Georgia, which means nothing because they don't want to check signatures.
They already checked the signatures. They already verified them. The votes only went through of verified signatures.
And if you're not going to check signatures in Georgia,
They already did.
it doesn't work. But we have a Secretary of State and a governor
Please shit on the Republicans in Georgia, please.
who made it very difficult to check signatures. Why? You'll have to ask them.
Yeah, I'll write them a letter.
But without a signature match or check, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
They found thousands and thousands of votes that were out of whack.
They were out of...
They found thousands and thousands of votes that were out of whack.
They were out of whack. That's what exactly is the basis for your legal filing today? Your Honor, as a representative of the Trump campaign, a legal representative of the RNC, we legally find that these ballots are out of whack.
All against me.
Oh, terrible. All the ones that are against you are out of whack. So all the ones that are against Biden are clearly legit.
This was during a recount that I didn't even think mattered. They found many thousands of
Yeah,
votes.
you didn't even...
And that recount didn't matter.
Yeah,
The
it
one that
didn't matter.
matters is the one that's going on now.
Yeah.
That because of the fact it's so close, they had to, by law, give another recount. But the recount has to be a recount where they check the signatures. Otherwise, they're just checking.
They already checked the signatures. The only ballots that got included were the ones where the signatures had already checked out. They don't move past that. That's why, by the way, there are 2 facilities for the processing of the envelopes and then the, yeah. Oh, thanks. Somebody Venmo'd me. That's very sweet. Thanks, guys. Oh, I did not expect that. That caught me off guard, I've got to admit. Who did that? I got to say thank you. Thanks very much. Oh, thanks, Mary. Appreciate it.
The same dishonest thing. It won't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Recounts?
In this case, the signatures on envelopes are the only thing that is relevant. We will compare the signature on the envelope to the signatures from past elections.
From past elections. So now you have to keep, I think he means registrations, unless he's just that dumb, which is entirely possible.
And we will find
Your ass with both hands? I doubt it.
that many thousands
Many
of people
voted for Biden more than they voted for you.
signed these ballots illegally.
Illegally. Oh, that was the cut.
Thousands of people signed these ballots illegally. The Democrats had this election rigged right from the beginning.
They did? And you didn't see it? I thought you were the greatest president ever. How are you the smartest guy? The Democrats, who are out of power, managed somehow in a Republican state with a Republican governor and a Republican secretary of state, they managed to steal this election from you? If the Democrats can do that to a sitting Republican president who, under, from your telling, is the most popular president in the real polls that we've ever had, and that Republicans are doing the greatest job ever, if Democrats can do that, well, I mean, shouldn't they be the ones to go up against China and Iran and all these people? Because, I mean, that's a tight group. I mean, the attack squad that's going on election-wise, if they're able to do that, maybe they should run shit. I mean, honestly.
They used the pandemic, sometimes referred to as the China virus,
By you?
where it originated,
just got to get that last shot in before my last Christmas as president.
as an excuse to mail out tens of millions of ballots, which
Applications.
ultimately led to a big part of the fraud, a fraud that the whole world is watching.
Yes, they're actually, that's not quite true. This is a fraud, and no one's watching you, except for my lovely viewers who are numerous, bigger number than even I thought. I look at the insights on my pages sometimes, and it's a little shocking. It's a good time. By the way, I would like to thank again the trolls for dropping by and boosting our numbers, and I appreciate our regulars for always being here, and I hope I at least give you the gift of some bit of sanity in the middle of this fucking banana madness.
And there is no one happier right now than China.
Really? Why?
Many people received 2, 3, and 4 ballots.
In a house with 4 registered voters, you mean?
They were sent to dead people by the thousands.
Dead? Oh, so dead people. Oh, fine. I'm alive. I only get 4 ballots, but if you're dead, you get 10,000? What kind of bullshit is this? Discrimination against the living. They call this pro-life? I don't think so.
In fact, dead people,
Uh-huh.
and we have many examples,
Okay, give one. Besides the people who were dead who voted for you that, because their relatives did it for them and they got arrested.
filled out ballots,
Uh-huh. Dead people. Filled out ballots. Go on.
made applications,
That's amazing. I'm not dead. Oh, he'll be stone dead in a moment. I can't take him. He says he's not dead. I want to go for a walk. You're not fooling anyways. Look, can you help us out?
and then voted, which is even worse.
It is worse. It's bad enough when dead people apply for a ballot. It's worse when they get it and they fill it out. I mean, and then the zombie juice that's all over it when they get it.
In other words, dead people went through a process,
In other words,
which is even worse. In other words, dead people went through a process. Some have been dead for 25 years.
it's amazing. They're still spry, though. You got to give them credit.
Millions of
It's nice. By the way, dead people, I salute you. You're good citizens. A lot of living people don't don't keep up with voting the way they should, and yet
The votes were cast illegally in the swing states alone. And if that's the case,
it isn't.
the results of the individual swing states must be overturned and overturned immediately.
No, yeah, it's not gonna happen.
Some people say that's too far out.
Yeah, it's far out, man. That's too wackadoodle, man. That's heavy, bro. That's too far out.
That's too harsh.
That's too harsh, man. You're okay. You're mixing your decades. It's like far out is really 60s, 70s, and harsh is straight up 80s.
Well, does that mean we take a president and we've just elected a president where the votes were fraudulent? No, it means you have to turn over the election. And everybody knows, without going
What the fuck was that? Do we know what this was? Did anybody catch what that little gaggle of sentences fucking meant at all? Wait, I got so caught up on harsh and mellow, bruh. It's far out. Far out, bruh. That's harsh. It's too harsh. It's too far out.
too harsh.
Yeah. Wait, back up.
States must be overturned and overturned immediately.
Immediately, we got to overturn the swing states that I lost. The swing states that I won, obviously, are legit. Even though they use the same voting machines. And even though the swing states that I lost don't ubiquitously use those machines across the entire state.
Some people say that's too far out.
Far out, bruh.
That's too harsh.
Harsh.
Well, does that mean we take a president and we've just elected a president where the votes were fraudulent? No, it means you have to turn over the election.
Yeah, got it? You guys got that? Did you write that down? Seriously. Are we gonna, does that mean, okay, dude, this might sound harsh. It might sound a little far out. But does that mean we take a presidential elect and we just elected a president and we overturn what that is? I mean, honestly, get it? Jesus.
And everybody knows,
Everybody knows.
without going much further,
Without going much further.
and they've seen the evidence, but they
And I've seen the evidence.
don't want to talk about it.
That I don't want to talk about.
What a disaster.
What a disaster
This
this
election
election
was.
is.
A total
A total catastrophe.
But we're going to show
But
it,
we're going to show. Sorry.
and hopefully the courts in particular,
No.
the Supreme Court of the United
You wish.
States will see it,
Nope.
and respectfully, hopefully they will do what's right
They are. They're doing what's right. They're telling you to go pound sand.
for our country. Because our country
Uh-huh.
cannot live with this kind of an election.
No, it cannot. It cannot live with the current president losing the election and pretending that he won for weeks and weeks like a dumbass.
We could say,
We could say,
let's go on to the next one.
yeah, let's go on to the next one.
But no, we have to look also at our past.
We must look at our past. That's right. We all need to. That's right. I think we need a recount of 2016 because I think you lost, and for the same reasons you're claiming you won this time, and now, yeah. So we need to look at that. Let's look at our past. Honestly,
We can't let this happen.
no, we can't let this happen. As a matter of fact, I'm not completely convinced Obama can't continue to serve. So I'm going to need you to step down.
Maybe you'll have a revote, but I don't think that's appropriate.
Just overturn it and hand it to me. That's the solution. I don't believe the numbers, but really, honestly, I think you guys need to revote. I mean, you just need to take the vote that happened and just because I called bullshit, give it to me. We don't need to recounts. Don't count them again. Every time I pay for a goddamn recount, I get fewer votes. This is so messed up. Okay, what we need.
When those votes are corrupt, when they're irregular,
Yeah, why vote in Georgia?
when they get caught,
They didn't get caught. You have not caught anyone doing anything wrong. No one was doing anything wrong. You didn't catch anybody.
they're terminated. And I've
Terminated. He loves that phrase, and I'm not quite sure why. Especially because like his phrase was "you're fired," and yet he used "terminated" for a lot of the people he lets go. It's so stupid.
Very easily win. In all states, I very easily win these swing states.
Sure, very easily, except you lost in a very complicated way.
Just like I won them at 10 o'clock in the evening
Before the rest of the votes were counted?
of the election.
Yeah, by the way, we've been hearing evidence this whole time, just so you know.
Just like I won them at 10 o'clock in the evening of the election.
Cut.
So we're not looking to show you 25 faulty or fraudulent votes,
You haven't shown me any.
which don't mean anything. You 25 faulty or fraudulent votes, which don't mean anything because it doesn't overturn the state.
Yeah, it doesn't mean,
Or 50 or 100.
no.
We're showing you hundreds of thousands.
When are you showing me?
Far more than we need. Far more than the margin. Far more than the law requires. We can show many times.
Then do it. I've seen 2 graphs of the same shit that simply show the upload point in the count, the digital count, which, by the way, later matched the recounts in both places he was talking about, in Wayne County and in Georgia, and I suppose in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, if we want to show those as well. Never mind, it's stupid.
What is necessary to win the state? The media knows this,
Do they? They know you're an idiot, and this is flailing and sad.
but they don't want to report it.
I would consider myself media. I mean, I'm on 4 sites at once. What more could you ask for? Seriously, folks.
In fact,
Why start now?
they outright refuse to even cover it.
They won't cover it. They've just been, between coverage. They won't cover it.
Because they know the result if they do.
What's the result?
Even what I'm saying now will be demeaned and disparaged.
Oh, he's watching my show. Success! Proof positive. Ladies and gentlemen, the president watches my live stream. This is clear. This is we need no further evidence. Your Honor, I rest my case that the entire comms team, Kayleigh McEnany as well, watches with, I hope she tucks her cross when I talk about her, because Jesus shouldn't be forced to hear her described accurately. This son of a bitch has seen clips of my show, and so has Rudy. Bing! All right.
But that's okay.
It is okay. It's downright dandy.
I just keep on going forward because I'm representing 74 million people.
Yes. And Biden is representing not only the 80 million who voted for him, but also that 74 million people. And this is effectively the failure of your entire stupid fucking argument. Is because no president, no matter who they are, comes out and says, I represent my voters and my voters only. And the fact that you continually say this is frigging pathetic. And the fact that Biden came out having won more votes than any presidential candidate in history, the ticket won more votes than any presidential ticket in history, they gained ground on Hillary Clinton and Obama's count, and the fact that he still came out and trounced you by a huge amount and said, I will still be a president for the people who didn't vote for me. That in and of itself, that is the distinction. And that's precisely why you lost.
And in fact, I'm also
An idiot. 6'2" and morbidly obese. Shitting your pants. I don't know what he's going to say, but it's one of those.
representing all of the people
There you go.
that didn't vote for him.
There you go. He's chasing Biden now.
The mail-in voting scam is the latest part of their 4-year effort to overturn the results of the 2016 election. And it's
What a weird thing. So it's a time machine.
been like living in hell.
Well, I can see why you'd want to stay. You think I'm going to let up if you stay in office? Really? You think I'm just doing this for sport? Sport? Huh? You think I only do this because I just have Trump derangement syndrome or some shit like that? Then you haven't been paying attention at all. And that breaks my heart. Because you know just as well as anyone, probably better than anyone, that I'm going after you for what you say and do, not just your random existence.
Our opponents have proven many times,
That they can beat you even when you're in power.
again and again,
That they can drag you through the street and you have no comeback.
that they will say and do anything to get back into power.
Whoops, what was that, Edit?
That they will say and do anything to get back into power. The corrupt forces
Jesus Christ. What is with these friggin' hard edits? Again, do another take. Shit.
who are registering dead voters to get back into power. The corrupt forces who are registering dead voters and stuffing ballot boxes are the same people who have perpetrated one phony and fraudulent hoax after another.
Oh, I see. He's kind of telling the truth here. The people who are stuffing ballot boxes and registering dead people and going after them for hoax are the same people. They are a tiny crew of fantasy humans he's made up in his own head to excuse and, I guess, stomp to death his conscience in the process, excuse his behavior to himself and give himself an excuse for, having a win by attrition attitude towards other Americans.
You've been watching it now for 4 years. These entrenched interests oppose our movement because
Our movement.
these entrenched interests oppose our movement because
He's getting dry mouth.
we put America first. They don't put
They put America first. They don't want to put America first. They just want to have policies that benefit America first. They just don't want to call it America first because of its racist background. But if you don't use the label, you're not doing the thing. Do they not understand how labels work? Coke is life.
put America first. And we're returning
Look at that
because
edit.
we put America first. They don't put America first.
They don't put it.
And we're returning power to you, the American people. They don't want America first. They only want power for themselves. They want to make money.
Yeah, that's what the ACA was all about. Dems making money.
That's why they don't want me as your president. They want to make money.
That's it. Terrible. Terrible. Only terrible people want to make money. Remember that. Your president told you, look at that. That's all they care about. If all you care about is making money, you're one of his children.
That's why they don't want me as your president.
No.
I've been investigated from soon after I announced I was running for president.
Because of your contacts with the Russians and yeah.
When I immediately went to number one in the Republican primary polls.
Yeah, well, let's see. What do we call that? World's tallest little person?
The investigations never stopped. They went on for 4 years.
Terrible. You know what? There's a phone nearby. Why don't you call Hillary Clinton and cry on her shoulder? She can probably understand you.
And I won them all. I beat them all. Russia, Russia, Russia. The impeachment hoax, and so much more.
And so much more. But behind curtain number 2, what do we have for him, Sammy? By the way, this is evidence of voter fraud you're listening to. This is the most important speech he's ever given. Probably. He did say probably. Maybe. Might be. It isn't. But
Robert Mueller spent $48 million of taxpayer money.
and got $60 million in seized assets. The Mueller investigation turned a profit, but that's all Democrats care about is making money.
Investigating me for 2.5 years, issued over 2,800 subpoenas, executed nearly 500 search warrants, issued 230 orders for communications records,
And how many of them did you actually give?
and conducted 500 witness interviews, all looking to take me down.
Or to look into contacts that people where they had violated the foreign lobbying rules and had been speaking to foreign. Oh, damn it, we've been through this before. Then again, tell Mark Meadows to release all the unredacted documents from the Russia investigation. You said it on Twitter. You said you've already asked for it last year. You asked for it again in August. You insisted on doing it. And then when it actually happened in court, when you had a chance to do it, you sent Mark Meadows down to the courthouse to say, I've actually talked to the president and he doesn't really mean it. And you didn't release any of the materials unredacted. Why is that? Why? What are you afraid of in the Brennan memo, which you used to say that Hillary Clinton concocted the entire Russiagate thing around you? Why are you so afraid of releasing the unredacted memo in its entirety that would show the 2 or 3 sentences before the line you keep quoting? Why? Are you afraid that the context of what Brennan wrote when it's declassified and shown in its complete form was that the top line says the Trump campaign is acting as if Hillary Clinton said this, we should cook this up to go after Trump. You take out the Trump campaign said part, take that out, and then suddenly it sounds really awful. Why won't you release that unredacted piece of paper? Why won't you do it? Why did you tell Mark Meadows to go against your tweet and your insistence that they release all of the Mueller material unredacted? Why'd you do it? You could have done it. You're the president. Why?
Collusion in the end.
No, that's not what it said. Read it out loud. Please, honest to God, if you want to make some money after your presidency, release a version of yourself reading the Mueller report as an audiobook. I would totally buy it.
None whatsoever. Senator Marco Rubio, the head of the Senate Intelligence Committee, stated...
Roll forward. You can't, he doesn't know what the next sentence is. He hasn't looked at this. You can't, Gary, you're sitting on the teleprompter lever again. It pauses it when you do that, asshole. Look what happens.
Rubio, the head of the Senate Intelligence Committee, stated,
all right,
the committee found no evidence that then-candidate Donald Trump or his campaign colluded with the Russian government.
Define collusion.
And I thank Senator Rubio for that statement.
Oh, yeah. Did you follow up with the rest, what the actual Senate did find about members of your campaign and people working with you?
Now I hear that these same people that failed to get me in Washington have sent every piece of information to New York so that they can try to get me there. It's all been gone over and over again.
This is what you hear?
That they can try.
And by the way, hi everybody, welcome. Thanks for joining. I'm glad you could be here with me. It's very exciting when you guys are hanging out. It's a lovely thing. I feel like, let's see, do I have my live dashboard up here? Yeah. Hold on. It's a pretty solid gathering we've got going on. Oh my gosh, it's a huge gathering today. Look at the turnout. This is nuts. This is the kind of numbers we used to get just on Saturdays, and now we're getting it every day. Get out of town. Love you guys. Thank you for showing up today. I greatly appreciate it. Yeah, that's lovely. Thanks for pointing that out.
Try to get me there. It's all
if there's nothing there, they can't get you to there. And like you can't. If there's no evidence
of information to New York.
Just to New York, just in general, to the city.
So that they can try to get me there. It's all been gone over and over
and over again. And yet,
for $48 million, you go through tax returns, you go through everything.
They weren't allowed to go through your financials. We just found that out. Like, how dumb are you?
The New York Attorney General, who recently ran for office,
yes,
campaigned without knowing me, stating, we will join with law enforcement and other attorneys general across this nation in removing this president from office. I never met her.
Usually people don't hate me that much until they meet me. Seriously, I don't know this bitch. Why's she up my ass? Like, this is so dumb. I didn't meet her. Why does she hate me so much? It's almost like she knows the law and looked at what I did. What?
Nation in removing this president from office. I never met her.
I don't know. What?
It's important that everybody understands, she said, that the days of Donald Trump are coming to an end.
Yeah. I do understand that. It feels good. Just breathing it in. That's just lovely. Sorry, my hair gets stacked every time I put my headphones back in. This is just, and I have to find some. I gotta start layering the dew. I gotta get. I mean, it's not that it doesn't lay that flat in real life. It's the green screen that makes it look. I don't understand. It's like complaining about the orange lights. I can't do it. All right, here we go.
And all it's been is a big investigation in Washington, in New York, and any place else that can investigate.
Any place else that can investigate. It's a lot of places. And I'm going to need you to be a little more specific. But I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt. You were giving evidence of fraud that shows up, whatever the...
Because that's what they want to do.
Oh, David, thank you so much.
Not me, but us down.
Thank you, David. Yeah, it's not... She didn't say the days of Donald Trump are over. She said the days of whoever likes Donald Trump and has ever voted for him are over. Those people will die and be rounded up and put in FEMA camps. Didn't you hear it?
That's what they want to do. They want to take not me, but us.
Yeah, that's it. That's what it is. I mean, she might say she thinks I'm a disgusting criminal and a grifter who takes advantage of people. But what she really wants to go after is everybody who went to Trump University. Huh?
Down. And we can never let them do that.
No.
Everything's been looked at.
Oh, everything.
A friend of mine who's very smart said,
Very smart. Very smart guy who's a friend of mine. He said, sir.
Probably seen more than anybody else.
Yeah.
You've probably been investigated.
Wait, what?
Seen more than a friend of mine who's very smart said you've probably seen more than anybody else. You've probably been investigated more than anybody else. And for you to come out with a clean bill of health makes you probably the cleanest person in this country.
Yeah, I'm going to go with no. I'm going to go with A. He's told this story a bunch of times. Whoever that, like, you must be the most innocent person in the entire world. Or you must have the reins of all the blackmail, and the people that are going after you are summarily being attacked by the other people you have blackmail on, or are being blackmailed by the same people that are blackmailing you. It could also be, all right, anyways.
Some people in this administration,
Oh boy.
but fortunately not all,
You hired them.
have been beaten down and disparaged. They just disappeared.
Oh my God. That's news. Holy shit. Who disappeared? Is there an APB out for them? Do we have an Amber Alert on some of the staff? What? They just disappeared? What? Are they, I mean, honest to God, what's the FBI for? Find these people. I mean, I may not agree with them politically, but I don't want them in a shallow grave someplace. What the fuck are you talking about?
Have been beaten down and disparaged.
And then...
They just disappeared. Nobody knows what happened to them.
What? Where are they? Who knows? They've just disappeared. No one's returning my phone calls. That's what this is. This is yes, White House. Mr. President, yeah, I'll try and get him on the line. Hold on one second. He's asking for you. No, I don't know what it's about. Well, of course yeah. Okay. I'm sorry, Mr. President. I'm looking all around, and I thought he was in the office, but it's weird. He's just disappeared. Yeah. It's the darndest thing. Yeah. What? Several? Oh, my Lord. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to start making posters. Yeah. What? Oh, milk carton. That's a great idea. You're always thinking. Okay. Well, I'll get right back to you. Shh. He's still on the phone. No, Mr. That wasn't. That was the door swinging. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, I think it's haunted. Yeah, by the ghost of whoever disappeared. I don't know. Anyway, okay. Call me back if you find him. Yeah, we'll start a phone tree. I know he should be home by now. All right, bye-bye. Nobody knows what happened to these people. What is he talking about? Listen to this nonsense.
They just disappeared in this country. Some people in this administration,
Some people in this administration,
but fortunately not all,
but fortunately not all of them, so not everyone.
have been beaten down and disparaged.
Terrible.
They just disappeared.
Poof! They just beaten and murdered, but they're just gone.
Nobody knows what happened to them.
Nobody knows. Yeah, I think you're right, Jamie. UFO abduction, clearly. The chat always knows what's up.
Why aren't they active? Why aren't they involved?
Where have they gone? Where could they be? I tried. They won't return my phone calls. Literally, this is like, and Barr just met with him yesterday. This is goofy. Listen to this shit.
Disparaged. They just disappeared. Nobody knows what happened to them. Why aren't they active? Why aren't they involved?
I don't know. I mean, I would ask them myself, but they've just vanished, Mr. President.
There's so much to be involved in.
I know you don't have. They'd love to be involved. I know they would. Yes, they would love to be involved, but they're missing.
The corruption is so rampant.
It is. I blame the corruption. I think that's who took them. The corrupt politicians. That I think they've been disappeared by the deep state, or maybe absorbed into the deep state like a Borg, Mr. President. Yes.
They just couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah, probably. You're right. They probably just couldn't take it. They probably just, yeah. Not everyone's as tough as you.
They were threatened by Democrats with impeachment.
Terrible.
And horrible things were said about them.
Oh, like what? That they, ooh, with a kumquat. That's terrible. A pineapple, that would definitely chafe. I don't, yeah.
And they're good people.
I know. Well, they were until they disappeared.
Even recently, the head of the GSA.
Oh, no. The GSA. Emily, missing in action Murphy.
Was hounded and harassed, as she reported, like she has never been before. What can I say? She's never
been hounded and harassed this much before. I'm gonna need a baseline, as all statistical and numerical analysis goes. I'm gonna need a baseline for which to judge. Has she ever denied the president-elect in an election that was already called the right to funds and facilities used in a transition? Because if she's done that before, I just want to see, because I'd have to compare it to that, not just in her, like, how rude she is at Starbucks, and then the meter to, denying an election in the greatest democracy on the planet. I just,
We caught Comey cold.
Did you? Was his hand in the cookie jar?
We caught McCabe cold.
Cold. We'll get him a blanket.
We caught them all.
Cold.
We're still waiting for a report.
Then I guess you didn't catch him cold. What report do you need? Do you not have video? What's happening?
From a man named Durham.
A man named Durham. A man named Durham came down from the mountain and he had a report on his boy. Sorry.
Who I have never spoken to and I have never met.
Are you sure he doesn't work for the SDNY? He didn't meet her either, and she's coming after you. Uh-oh.
They can go after me before the election as much as they want.
Yes. Right. If you're engaged in criminal activity or perceived to be engaged in criminal activity, you're not the president of the United States. And if there's a chance that someone is using you to subvert democracy in our country, one would hope they would look into you as thoroughly as they would need to.
But unfortunately, Mr. Durham didn't want to go after these people or have anything to do with going after them before the election.
And he apparently doesn't now.
So who knows
Who knows? Who knows
if he is ever going to
if he's ever going to
even do a report.
even do a report.
This is the most important speech of his life. This is maybe. Listen to this shit.
To do with going after, didn't want to go after these people or have anything to do with going after them before the
They
election.
didn't want to.
So who knows
Who knows?
if he is ever going to even do a report.
At this rate?
But if you look at the lies and
Yeah.
the leaks and the illegal acts and
Well, at least you make the distinction because any of the leaks are true. Because, as we say on this show all the time, you can't leak a lie. A lie is just a lie. If you leak something, it has to be true. Otherwise, it's not a leak, it's just a lie. So any leaks are true. So he's admitted that anything that is a leak is a lie. Or, is a leak is not a lie and is legitimate. Right?
behavior done by so many people
So many people.
in their desire to hurt the President of the United States, something should happen.
Something should happen. I agree. I'm going to go with Biden's inauguration. That should happen.
The hardest thing I have to do
Okay, what's the hardest thing you have to do? Not shit your pants when saying arbitrage?
is explain why nothing is happening with all of these people that got caught spying on my campaign.
Okay, honest to God, folks, we have watched his rallies at all these stupid gatherings, and he rambles off into this bullshit every time. But this was supposed to be a special speech about the illegalities around the election and why it should be overturned and why they have clear and concise evidence. That ship has fucking sailed. And now he's just bitching about Durham, and he's not... This isn't even a ramble. Look at him. He's reading from a teleprompter right now. He's insisting on these words in this order.
It's never happened before, and it should never happen again
To any other president?
to a president of the United States.
Well, none of them will do the shit you've done, so I'm not worried about it.
All you have to do is watch the hearings and see for yourself.
I did.
The evidence is overwhelming. The fraud that we've collected in recent weeks is overwhelming.
No, it isn't. It's underwhelming, if anything. And I think for your supporters, they want it to be overwhelming, so it's just being whelming.
Having to do with our election. Everyone is saying, wow, the evidence is overwhelming. When
Is that what they're saying? Everyone is saying, wow.
everyone is saying, wow, the evidence is overwhelming when they get to see it. But really, it's too late to change the course of an election.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. It's going, wow. You know what? I got to admit, this is overwhelming evidence. It's incredible, but it's just too late. I mean, to verify it or actually, call it evidence when it's really just the abject ramblings of a dude about losing his trailer full of gaylords.
It's too late to change the outcome. In fact, there is still plenty of time to certify the correct winner of the election.
Joe Biden?
And that's what we're fighting to do.
You're fighting to certify the election for Joe Biden now? Well, that's nice. That's a nice turn.
But no matter when it happens, when they see fraud, when they see false votes, and when those votes number far more than is necessary, you can't let another person steal that election from you.
Well, that's what you're trying to do. By the way, we're only halfway through this monstrosity. A little over.
All over the country,
Uh-huh.
people are together in holding up signs, stop the steal.
They're all over the country. People are together in holding up signs, stop the steal.
In holding up signs, stop the steal. To understand how we will challenge this fraud,
Okay. Yeah.
it is important to know
Yes.
the problems with mail-in balloting.
Tell me the problems with mail-in balloting. Let me hear it. Because you voted by mail many times, and Kayleigh McEnany has voted by mail many times, and I'm sure I have a problem with how you voted and who you voted for, but let's hear it.
Pennsylvania, Michigan, Nevada, Georgia,
All the states you lost.
Arizona, and most other states allowed anyone to get an absentee ballot
Terrible. Any registered voter, but yeah, go ahead.
and cast their vote without showing any ID.
That's not true at all. It simply isn't. I mean, I would like to go further and explain how it isn't, but it simply isn't. I mean, we've done this many times with Rudy's show, but I mean, let's just understand. This man has shit his pants, stuck his hand down the back of it, and is waving it in front of the camera, going, "See, I made pudding." That's what it's the same thing.
The voting took place entirely on the honor system. No identification of any kind was required.
Well, then why should we trust anyone who voted for you?
Most Americans would also be shocked to learn that no state in the country verifies United States citizenship as a condition for voting in federal elections.
Yes, they do.
This is a national disgrace.
Yeah, they do. All the states do.
No other advanced country conducts elections this way.
Well, yeah, no advanced country conducts elections the way you fantastically have it made up in your dipshit head.
Many European countries have instituted major restrictions on mail-in voting specifically because they recognize the nearly unlimited potential for fraud. Out of 42 European nations, all but 2 prohibit absentee ballots entirely for people who reside inside the country.
So, wait.
Absentee ballots entirely for people who reside inside the country.
Okay, what do they call them instead? Let me guess. Thank you, Sharon. That's awesome. 'Cause honestly, is this one of those, the French don't even have a word for entrepreneur right now?
Or else they require those who need absentee ballots to show a very, very powerful ID.
A very, very powerful ID. It glows. I don't know if you know this, but European IDs glow in the dark. They have a special. The Swedes have one that's literally made out of iron, and it has, runes on it. It's basically like it's a Viking stone they hold up, and they have to go like that, and that's how you become.
Throughout the Democrat effort to dramatically expand mail-in voting, the Democrat Party leaders were also feverishly working to block measures designed to protect against fraud.
Oh, were they now? What were the measures designed to protect against fraud? Please tell us.
Such as signature verification,
All states required verification of signatures.
residency verification,
People vote in the state that they're registered to vote in. If they are military, for example, in Nevada, a lot of people live in Nevada still, but serve on the base in California. It's just a drive away. So they're not going to move their entire mailing address to the base. They receive their ballots at home, or it gets forwarded to the base. That's pretty normal.
or voter ID. And citizens
No one has a voter ID. No one. You have an ID. You have a photo ID. And in all these cases, in the states that he's mentioning, to request or receive a mail-in ballot, you have to have at least shown a photo ID in the first place. A lot of states do that because of the motor voter registration option that you have. You can register to vote when you re-up or when you get a driver's license, which has a photo on it.
citizenship confirmation was almost unthought of that we should ask for it.
It's just don't even think about asking for it. Why should we do that when our state doesn't give licenses to illegal aliens? It's one of the ways we track them down, and yeah.
Can you believe this?
I can believe it. I can believe that you don't understand reality.
These are not the actions of people who want fair elections. No. These are the actions of people who want to steal elections, who are willing to create fraud.
Willing to create fraud.
Only conceivable reason why you would block common sense measures
is because they already exist.
to verify legal eligibility for voting
It was because they already exist.
is you are trying to encourage, enable, solicit, or carry out fraud. It is important for Americans to understand that these destructive changes to our
All right, now he's tired of talking, and his voice is starting to flag. So it took them, if this is a 45-minute speech, it took them at least 3 hours to shoot it. And he's going to blub very on the edge. Yeah, and he's starting to twitch. Watch this.
fraud. It is
Hold on, I'll
trying
back
to encourage, enable, solicit, or carry out fraud. It is important for Americans to understand that these destructive changes to our election laws were not a necessary response to the pandemic. The pandemic simply gave the Democrats an excuse to do what they have been trying to do.
Get everybody to vote. Allow everyone to vote. Allow every single citizen to vote. And it unfortunately it scuttled all the vote limitations that the Republicans have been trying to use for years by denying polling places to heavily minority areas and the like. But please go on.
For many, many years.
But yeah, allowing everyone to vote, whether they're a Democrat or a Republican.
In fact, the very first bill
Uh-huh.
that House Democrats introduced when Nancy Pelosi became Speaker was an attempt to mandate universal mail-in voting and eliminate measures such as voter ID, which is so necessary.
Mandate. The first bill. I don't need to look that up to tell you that that is not true. The first bill, okay. Jesus Christ. Do we have to go through this? I mean, it's too long. I'll do it later.
Dramatically eroding the integrity of our elections was the Democrats' #1 priority for a simple reason.
Okay, what is it?
They wanted to steal the 2020 presidential election.
And you didn't see it coming? How did they manage to do that right underneath you? You had the Senate. You have the Supreme Court. You have the presidency. You have Bill Barr. Your taint-licking, ball-cradling own Roy Cohn inserted in the DOJ. And the Democrats still managed to do. It's amazing, because I thought they couldn't do anything.
All of the Democrat efforts
Whoops.
to steal the 2020 presidential election.
Cut.
All of the Democrat efforts to expand mail-in balloting laid the groundwork for the systematic and pervasive fraud that occurred in this election. In Pennsylvania, large amounts of mail-in and absentee ballots
Were counted.
were processed illegally and in secret in Philadelphia and Allegheny counties without our observers present.
Nope. There were too many election judges. They sent people away or made them stand over behind a barrier because there was too many. Too many. They had a limit of 200 in the room. 500 showed up. Some of them carrying long guns.
They were not allowed to be present. In fact, they weren't even allowed in the same room.
Yeah, but in your filings in Philadelphia, they said they were in the same room behind a barrier. And some were in a room with pizza boxes over the windows because they kept trying to photograph the names of voters.
They were thrown out of the building, and they looked from outside in, but they had no way of even seeing because there were no windows, and the windows that were there were boarded up. Even seeing because there were no windows, and the windows that were there, but they had no way of even seeing because there were no windows, and the windows that were there were boarded up.
Jesus Christ.
Democrats even went to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court to block observers from receiving access. There is only one possible reason that the corrupt Democrat political machine would oppose transparency during the vote counting.
They didn't.
It's because they know they are
They know that your supporters are psychopaths. Many of them were armed, and a lot of them were going to challenge legit votes and have them thrown out when they hadn't even registered as poll watchers. So they were asked to stand the fuck over there.
hiding illegal activity. It's very simple.
Is it very simple? Well, then you should be able to understand it and explain it in less than 45 minutes without a bunch of edits.
This is an egregious, inexcusable, and irreversible harm that stains the entire election. Yet this unprecedented practice of excluding our
Terrible.
observers,
Horrible.
our vote watchers, as some people call them,
Your vote watchers. That's what I am. What's your official badge say? It says vote watcher. Do you watch the tallying, the signature verification, or the voting itself? You mean a poll watcher? There's no polls, so I'm here to basically just throw out anything that comes in the mail because you can't trust it. All the in-person voting for, we're going to count those for sure, even though a bunch of people the only people who've tried to vote twice in person illegally were all Trump supporters. And according to him, there were tens of thousands of those people. But what I'm here to do is just make sure that no mail-in ballots count. Because that doesn't look like their signature to me. Does that look like your signature? I mean, that doesn't look like your signature. Doesn't look like their signature.
occurred in Democrat-run cities and
You mean places where people vote for Democrats, they voted for the Democrat?
key states all across the nation.
What about the red state and the red counties in those blue states that threw out mail-in ballots because they knew they were for Biden? And go look at those again.
Here are just some of the additional facts that we've uncovered. Many
Okay.
voters
All right, here we go. Facts. He said facts. Now we're finally getting to it. We're in the home stretch.
all across Pennsylvania
Okay.
received 2 ballots in the mail, and many others received mail-in ballots for which they never applied.
Okay. So, people received 2 ballots, and a lot of people received ballots that they never applied for. Okay. I don't know if Pennsylvania did a universal mail-in ballot or gave the option of doing this, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that a lot of the people, like the people who've been testifying at Trump's little gaggles, are unfortunately stupid. And what they're talking about is their sample ballot and their actual ballot. And they think that's 2 ballots. Unless they voted twice, in which case they should go to jail.
So many got ballots, they didn't even know what they were for.
Yeah, who knows what? I mean, sure it says federal election and Biden versus Trump. I mean, but what is this for? Is it a paper airplane? It could be a brooch. It could be a hat. It could be a pterodactyl flying through the air.
And again, so many received more than 1 ballot, in some cases more than 2 ballots.
Name one. Say a name. Say a name.
And they happen to be, for the most part, Democrats.
So Democrats are calling you and saying into your fraud line that they received double ballots, and they're like, I'm a Democrat, but I have to call the Trump campaign and let them know that I got 2 ballots and that if I, that I voted twice. What? So Democrats received double ballots, sometimes triple ballots, and they were your witnesses at these things because I haven't seen any of those people. What?
In Fayette County, Pennsylvania, multiple voters received ballots that were already filled out. They didn't know what happened.
Did they? You mean their sample ballots?
In Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, a poll watcher overheard unregistered voters being told to return later to try to vote under a different name.
Really? What's this person's name? I mean, I've seen the footage, so they would just tell me. Like, what'd you hear? I heard that they were told to come back and vote under a different name later. Oh, you mean people who were registered under their maiden name, had gotten married, and needed to go home and get a piece of ID that showed that their name had shifted when they got married between their registration last time and this last election because they vote in person and that they had voted. You mean those kind of people?
Being told to return later to try to vote under a different name.
You mean their maiden name?
Tens of thousands of voters across Pennsylvania were treated differently based on whether they were Republicans or Democrats.
Now, this is a good one. This is the crux of their lawsuit that they filed with two people, even though they filed them against the state legislature and not in the counties where these people were denied their rights. But understand that this is about curing ballots in Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and Erie that they checked with the actual voter. Now, none of this alleges that people voted illegally or weren't registered to vote or didn't have the right to vote. All of these people were legally registered voters who chose to vote by mail. And when they sent their ballot in, their signature, for whatever reason, probably because a Republican was standing over the person's shoulders, they did the separation, said, I don't buy that. They called that person and said, is that you, Edna? And Edna said, yeah. I mean, if we're all making up a play, I wanted to vote on the day. They checked with those people and went, yeah, that's my ballot. Will you come in and sign an affidavit and show some ID and do that? Absolutely. So they came in and they were able to cure their ballots. They did not do that in red counties. And the reason they didn't do that in red counties is because most of the mail-in ballots would be for Biden. And by curing more ballots, they gave Biden more votes. So in the red counties, they didn't bother to cure ballots because they did not want to add to Biden's numbers. They refused to cure ballots for legitimate voters. They just threw them out. So the denial of the right was by the electors or the board of elections in those counties, denying people who had voted for Biden the right to vote for Biden. This is just goofy.
Voters who submitted flawed ballots in some Democrat precincts were notified and asked to fix their ballots, while Republican precincts, and in particular Republican voters, were not so notified.
Yeah. Why did the people in charge of it in the red counties not do that for their voters? Because they were willing to lose what few Republican voters voted by mail to get rid of the mass of Biden voters, to lower that number.
Which plainly violates the Equal Protection Clause of the United States Constitution. If you were a Democrat, we're going to fix up your ballot, make sure it's perfect.
And if you're in a Republican county, we're not.
If you were a Republican, don't even talk about it.
Why? What? How did this work out? I mean, honestly, this is red counties denying rights to their voters. Because a lot of these counties, even though they were quote-unquote red counties, they were 60-40.
In Michigan, a career employee of the city of Detroit witnessed city workers coaching voters to vote straight Democrat.
How to, not to do it, but how to do it.
While accompanying them to watch who they were voting for, violating the law and the sanctity of the secret ballot.
No, they gave help to some people, probably elderly, who needed help with an electronic machine because they used to vote by paper, or they had all kinds of options where they would, the old hanging Chad situation, and they took them over to do it. But apparently, these folks already were voting Democrat.
You can't do that.
And by the way, this is a fantasy. Hi. How you doing?
I'm going to head over to the house to try to trap.
The white cat? Lovely. It's just an all day, just salvaging animals day. I love that. We're trying to now save a former feral cat situation who we love, and by the way, should have adopted. We should have just scooped her up. I said that for the record. I'm on record that we should have snatched her up, but I was overruled, and now we're getting a second bite at the apple, I hope. Hi, Murph. Yes, the white cat. Yes. Murphy, hi. Murphy's coming in. Okay. Now, I'm not done. How are you? I don't know what Murphy wants, other than he's afraid that he's going to be replaced by, if not a dog, that we find some random place. I know all these animals are trying to take over your slot, Murph. Okay, well, I love you. Good luck. Let me know how it works out. Murph, what are you doing? He's just hanging out. He'll be over here in a minute to just electrocute himself. Okay, anyways, back to our regular scheduled programming. Love you.
Love you.
Go, Murph. Yeah, thank you.
That. The same worker says she was instructed not to ask for any ID and not to attempt to validate any signatures.
That's because that was not her job. she was in charge of this station. Somebody else does that. You don't get to bump over and do somebody else's job. It sounded like she was there to scuttle the vote. But unfortunately, she had waited too long to sign up, and all the cherry election judge spots had been taken up by people who do it a lot.
She was also told to illegally backdate ballots, many, many ballots, received after the deadline. This is something that is so unconstitutional.
That it would be shocking if it actually happened.
And she estimates that thousands and thousands of ballots.
Yeah, and her estimate, I mean, honestly, this woman who showed up to be a marauder at the Detroit polls, wouldn't do the job she was assigned to do and was sticking her nose in other people's jobs, assuming that they were doing something untoward. And we should take her assumption as evidence.
Were improperly backdated by her and many others.
Maybe the backdating part, and I'm just going to float an idea that seems to fit the reality of the circumstance, was that your supporters who were volunteering were attempting to take votes that were cast before Election Day and put into drop boxes that arrived and on the 4th, because they didn't allow them to start counting until that morning, that the date they were received, based on the boxes from which they came, said the 2nd. But she was insisting on writing the 4th because that was the first time she had seen them. And they don't count until she thinks she sees them. And so therefore, it doesn't matter that these people legitimately voted ahead of time. What it means is that because she is between them and their votes getting counted, she can write whatever fucking date she wants on there. And so the person, her poll supervisor, was not saying backdate to the 2nd. She went over and caught this woman writing the 4th on stuff to try and scuttle all these mail-in votes. And the woman said, these votes came in on the 2nd. Write the 2nd, because these came in with this batch on the 2nd. That's what that ballot says. That's who those votes are for. These people all voted. You're going to count these votes. I don't think it should be counted. I'm here on the 4th. This is the first time I'm seeing them. Fuck you. This isn't your decision to make. Those people voted. Call them.
Other witnesses in Detroit also saw election officials counting batches of the same ballots many times.
No. They saw them going through the signature verification machine. We've gone through this in court before.
As well as illegally duplicating ballots.
They didn't illegally duplicate any ballots. Some ballots wouldn't go through the machine, so they had to, with an election supervisor present, had to fill out the exact bubbles on a duplicate ballot. They only counted one, and it had to match the original one, and they were filed together after the fact. So there's 2 paper ballots attached to each other that verify that one was the one that they tried to go through the machine but was too light or wasn't effective, and the second one was the duplicate of it. They go together. This is dumb.
One observer testified to seeing boxes and boxes of ballots.
Didn't testify. They were not under oath. They didn't testify.
All bearing the same signature.
Yeah. Bullshit.
Another observer in Detroit gave sworn testimony that he saw countless invalid ballots that did not belong to properly registered voters, and then witnessed election workers in Wayne County entering fake birth dates into the system in order to illegally count them.
Oh, these are the same-day voters in Michigan. Michigan has the right to same-day voting, and in this particular instance, I think is what he's talking about, was when people would come in person, and they would enter it in, and there was a logging flaw that the default birth date, if they didn't put the birth date in, would logging flaw that birth date is the same. So when the ballots arrived, they all had the same birth date. So they'd go back to the registration of the person and go, what's your actual birth date? That's part of the curing process.
Witnesses have signed sworn affidavits. In other words, you go to jail if you lie.
Yeah, but you can be mistaken or stupid or think you saw something you didn't. You're not lying in that situation. You're just a deluded idiot.
Testifying that after election officials announced the last absentee votes had been received.
They announced the last ones. This is the last, guys. This is the last batch. There are no more.
A batch of tens of thousands of ballots arrived.
So they were wrong?
Many without envelopes, all voting for Democrats.
Yeah, really? So why were they delayed? when they thought they were done, why were Democratic votes delayed? Who was holding them back, hoping they would never be counted? What red county was holding back their mail-in ballots or mishandling them so they wouldn't be counted?
In Wisconsin, a record number of voters were categorized as indefinitely confined, a status reserved for severely disabled individuals,
Or people with comorbidities in a pandemic.
also for the elderly, that allow them to vote without showing ID. Last year, approximately 70,000 people.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean they didn't show ID. Again, a false statement. This is to make you assume that all those people who registered that way didn't show ID.
People claimed this status statewide. This year, the number miraculously was nearly 250,000 voters.
Crazy. It's almost as if more people wanted to vote and normally would be ambulatory. They're older people. They normally vote in person. But in this case, they were saying, no, I got to stay home because of the pandemic. They used that and because that's the status of the law in Wisconsin. Gee.
After election officials in Milwaukee and Dane
500 people on YouTube. That's crazy.
counties, a couple of the most corrupt political places in our country,
Black people. Lots of blacks. There's tons of blacks there. You know it's fraud. It's fraud. Black fraud is the worst fraud.
urged citizens to improperly register under this status.
Terrible.
And register they did. In levels that don't exist.
They just don't exist. I love when he catches himself admitting that they're legitimate registrations, so he has to add this sentence to cover for it.
And register
They did.
in levels that don't exist. In Wisconsin, there are approximately 70,000 absentee ballots that do not have matching ballot applications as required by.
Yeah, that's because, and this is where we've discussed Rudy Giuliani having his head solidly up his ass in terms of Wisconsin law. And if you don't believe me, you can go to the Wisconsin voting info site on their state websites. That's because they call in-person voting absentee, even if you do it in the clerk's office. So if you're not registered to vote, you wanted to vote, you don't normally vote, or your voting has lapsed or whatever, you go into there, you show photo ID to do this, and you register to vote. You'll never receive an application because your presence in the clerk's office is in your voice is considered your application because you're there showing ID and you register to vote in person and you hand up this thing and they give you this vote to vote in person early, this ballot to vote in person early. You fill it out and give it back. It's still counted as an absentee ballot in Wisconsin law. Dummy.
In Georgia, 9 observers have testified to seeing countless irregular ballots.
Ooh, irregular. Perhaps they need more fiber.
Without the creases or typical markings indicating that the ballots did not arrive in envelopes
Suspiciously uncreased.
as required.
They don't have the typical creases. They have atypical creases. I mean, what more do you need? I didn't see a crease. Did you see a crease? I didn't see a crease.
A poll watcher in Fulton County estimated that approximately 98% of the large number of unusually pristine ballots that she witnessed
She estimated, did she? Does she have a count? Does she have video of this?
were for Biden.
Oh, I see. So a large portion of the mail-in ballots in a highly Democratic and largely black area turned out to be for Biden, and she thinks they were all for Biden because she saw 98% of them, or she estimates, or because they were going Biden, 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 Trump, and Biden, 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 Biden. I heard that.
Highly unusual number.
Isn't it?
In addition,
Is it, or maybe, perhaps, that there was a huge distinction between the people who voted in person and the people who voted by mail, and that normally in an election, you'd have kind of a 60-40 split in the mail-in vote. But in this case, you had almost a 90-10 split, live versus the mail-in vote.
Thousands of uncounted ballots were discovered in Floyd, Fayette, and Walton counties weeks after the election.
Terrible.
And these ballots were mostly from Trump voters.
And they mostly, so not all. So Biden would have lost some votes too. And they found them before the certification and they added them because they audited. I'll tell you what. Give Georgia $3 million, have them do a full recount, and my guess is you're going to lose more votes.
They weren't counted. They were from Trump voters.
No, you said mostly from Trump voters.
Detroit, everybody saw the tremendous conflict and the horrible way that the two Republican canvassers were treated.
Terrible.
So horribly.
Oh, it's so horrible how the two Republican canvassers were treated.
Because they wouldn't vote when they saw that 71% of the precincts didn't balance. And also, there were more votes than there were voters. Think of
yeah, there's always more votes than there are voters in a district because there are always people who vote absentee.
that. You had more votes than you had voters. That's an easy one to figure.
Yeah, explain it to us. Explain it how they managed to do that. They're not going to show up and, I mean, that tally, wouldn't one expect that would trigger an immediate halt of everything because the computer itself it can't go over 100% of the available voters. Because I'm going to go with, you're counting the 100% of people who voted in the last election, and there was a 30% rise in some counties in the volume of voters this election over the midterms, for example.
And spy the thousands.
And spy the thousands.
In Arizona, in-person voters whose ballots produced error messages from tabulation machines were told to press a button that resulted in their votes not being counted.
Yeah? How did it work?
Ballots produced error messages. You had voters. That's an easy one to figure.
So easy.
And spy the thousands.
And spy the thousands.
In Arizona, in-person voters whose ballots produced error messages from tabulation machines were told to press a button that resulted in their votes not being counted. Also in Arizona...
Wait, what? So individual voters pushed buttons on a machine that resulted in the tabulations, which are they wouldn't be there for the tabulating. They just vote. What?
The Attorney General announced that mail-in ballots had been stolen from mailboxes.
Terrible.
And hidden under a rock.
Hidden under a rock. All the way over there. I'm surprised they didn't dump them in Afghanistan.
In Clark County, Nevada.
And by the way, if you know the majority of mail-in votes are coming from Biden, who would you harm most by removing mail-in ballots from mailboxes and hiding them under a rock?
Where most of the state's voters reside, the standards for matching a signature using the signature verification machine were intentionally lowered to allow large numbers of ballots to be counted that otherwise would never have passed muster.
The machine has a 30/70 approval rate. It stayed at that. What are you talking about? What, they raise it to 40%? They still get reviewed.
This machine was set at the lowest level.
The lowest level. And still, 60% of the ballots had to be reviewed by a human being?
According to one report, in order to test the process, 9 voters in Clark County cast ballots with intentionally incorrect signatures.
Why? Why are people fraudulently voting? And by the way, if they caught this...
And 8 of the 9 ballots were accepted and counted. They said you could sign your name as Santa Claus, and it would be accepted.
You mean the people who said that they tried to defraud the election system, and they said their votes were counted, so they voted illegally? They committed voter fraud?
Last week, the Clark County Commission threw out the results of a local election
A local election.
after the registrar reported finding, quote, discrepancies that we can't explain. Also in Nevada,
Yeah, that were different from the rest of the election.
some voters were entered into a raffle for more than a dozen gift cards worth as much as $250 if they could prove they had voted.
Yeah, to motivate, get out the vote, not prove who they voted for, though.
As much as $250 if they could prove they had voted. This took place on Indian reservations. One of the most significant
So they weren't paying people to vote a certain way. They were just using a raffle to motivate people to vote. So if they showed up with their sticker that said I voted, and that's proof, or had a picture of themselves at the booth, that would have qualified. Hey, you went out and voted. You can get a chance to win a gift card.
indications of widespread fraud
Good Lord.
is the extraordinarily low rejection rates for mail-in ballots in many key states.
What's the standard that you want held? You just want to reject all mail-in ballots because you know the majority of them are for Biden?
These are the states that I had to win. In swing state after swing state, the number of ballots rejected has been dramatically lower than what would have been expected based on prior experience.
You mean prior experience when there was, what, 1/10 the amount of mail-in ballots?
That means years and years of voting.
Years and years of voting, not during a pandemic. Honestly, he wants the standard to be set at, look, if there's more mail-in votes than there is in a normal year, then any of the extra ones have to be thrown out, even if it cuts the voter roll in half.
In Georgia, just 0.2%.
Georgia?
That's substantially less than 1% of mail-in ballots have been rejected. In other words, almost none have been rejected.
Right.
They took everything. Nothing was rejected practically,
Why shouldn't they?
compared to 6.4% in 2016. And there are those that think that 6.4 was a low number.
Well, percentages by volume of numbers, because if you have this many people voting, 6.4%, and this number voting, and 2.4%, they're going to be close to the same amount because you're talking about a percentage of the overall vote. The fail rate's going to be the same number of human beings, basically. You have the same number of people, the same people making the same mistakes as they did in the last election. By the way, probably legitimate voters who just have, nerve damage in their hands from years of working and all kinds of other. That's why you cure ballots, to make sure.
So think of it. Almost none
When was this horrendous speech? Today.
were rejected. And the previous election, 6.4% were rejected. We have seen similar declines in Pennsylvania, Nevada, and Michigan. Ballots weren't rejected, especially if they happen to be in Democrat areas.
Because they know they were legit and they could check their rolls and they actually want people to vote. And in the red areas, they were trying to kill as many mail-in votes as possible because they knew they were largely for Biden.
These irregularities are inexplicable
I just explained them.
unless there is a deliberate effort to accept ineligible ballots.
Or unless there is a deliberate effort in red districts to deny legitimate mail-in ballots, raising the number.
Or fraudulent ballots. In Pennsylvania, the Secretary of State and the state Supreme Court, in essence, abolished signature verification requirements
In essence.
just weeks prior to the election in violation of state law.
No, didn't violate state law. Falls within state law.
You're not allowed to do that.
Yes, you are. And they didn't eliminate it. He's talking about the consent decree, which actually strengthened the signature verification, which is the dumb part.
It has to be approved by the legislature. A judge can't do it. A state can't do it.
Yeah, they can.
An official can't do it.
Yeah, they can.
The only one that can do it is the legislature.
No.
The reason for this is clear.
Why?
They were not verifying signatures because they know the ballots have not been filled out by the voters in whose names they were cast.
Call them. Call all those people.
In other words,
I'm talking out of my ass.
people filled them out that had nothing to do with the names on the ballot.
You mean what you just said? In other words, the same thing twice. Seriously, listen to this.
They know the ballots have not been filled out by the voters in whose names they were cast.
In other words,
people filled them out that had nothing to do with the names on the ballot. A simple
seriously, is he smelling almonds and burnt toast right now?
recount of the ballots under these circumstances only compounds the fraud. The only way to determine whether there was an honest vote
Is to just throw out the whole thing but not have a recount and just give it to Trump.
is to conduct a full review of the envelopes in the relevant states. You will find that many of them, tens of thousands,
Why would we find that?
have fraudulent signatures. A full forensic audit is required to ensure that only legal ballots from lawfully registered voters that were properly cast are included in the final count. This election is about great voter fraud.
Isn't it?
Fraud that has never been seen like this before.
Or at all, even.
It's about poll watchers
Hello?
who were not allowed to watch.
That's sad.
So illegal.
So illegal when you're not allowed to watch your own poll.
It's about ballots that poured in, and nobody but a few knew where they came from.
Or what they were doing. The little people of Stonehenge.
But they were counted, and they weren't for me. It's about big leads on election night, tremendous leads.
If you don't, well, you weren't leading. You were leading in the count, not in the actual vote.
Leads where I was being congratulated.
Yeah, and once somebody has congratulated you, I mean, that's as legit. I mean, it's one thing when a network looks at the statistics of the, how the vote's coming down, what's left, what's still coming in, and all again, and they call it. That's a bunch of bullshit. The government settles the elections, certifies it, not the mainstream media. Okay, you understand that? You understand? So understand that. But if somebody calls you on the phone and congratulates you, that's pretty much law.
Decisive, easy victory. And all of a sudden, by morning or a couple of days later,
or Wednesday, whatever, either when they actually counted the rest of the votes, you mean?
those leads rapidly evaporated.
Yes, they did.
It's about numbers of ballots that were sent
that
nobody know where they came from.
Nobody know where nobody know. What?
About numbers of ballots that were sent that nobody know where they came from.
Nobody know where they came from. Nobody know where they go.
It's about machinery that was defective, machinery that was stopped during certain parts of the evening.
Machinery was just stopped and defective. It was stopped, was it?
Miraculously to open with more votes.
Miraculously. When it stopped, and then it started again, and
It was about many other things.
Yeah, just many other things. Just take my word for it, That the other shit I just said didn't actually happen. But, I mean, pretend what I said was not complete horseshit, and then just act as if maybe a...
But above all, it was about fraud.
Wasn't it?
This election was rigged.
Rigged, terrible, absolutely. And the funny thing is, you spent all that money to rig it, and you still lost. It's gotta suck. I mean, this is just a Yelp review. He bought all those ES&S votes. He bought Texas. They paid for Ohio. They gave all that money to Mitch McConnell so that they could steal Kentucky. They paid for Florida and still lost. What the shit?
Everybody knows it.
Huh? She is?
Her tail's like half hanging off.
Oh, no.
It's hanging off.
We need to take her to the vet. You're going to take her there now?
Yeah, I mean, they're not open. I mean, she's obviously surviving.
Right.
So I guess she showed up yesterday and she could tell it was a wound.
Yeah.
And then this morning she said she was looking at it and it was hanging. So
Aw.
Yeah, she got caught in a door under something, tried to escape, broke it. She got it. So the little white cat that was at our old house, some of you may remember, the person who's living there now noticed that her tail had been caught in something or was broken, so it's bent and gnarly. It's going to have to be amputated, I'm guessing, but if it doesn't fall off on its own. But we're going to go get her taken care of. And she's a sweetheart. She's a really great cat. So hopefully she'll be just fine. She's meowing? Oh, she's great. We got a Murphy, too, now. Terrific.
So I'm gonna put her in our bathroom.
Okay, yeah. All right. You going to wash her, too?
I don't want to touch her tail.
Right.
It looks like painful.
All right. Well, I'm just saying. I'm just checking. I'm just asking. Yeah. I'll come and I can't wait to see her. I miss her. Little thing.
I don't mind if I lose an election.
Yeah, I can tell.
It's
Hold on.
rigged. Everybody knows it.
Everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. And by everybody, I mean me and one member of my family and a bunch of Sidney Powell's friends and a bunch of nutcases that were willing to throw the election for me by committing voter fraud themselves and lie under oath in depositions on my behalf, because lying for Jesus is not really a lie at all.
I don't mind if I lose an election,
I don't either. I think it's kind of lovely. I'm enjoying watching it.
but I want to lose an election fair
Well, you did. Congratulations. How's it feel?
and square.
Uh-huh. Do you know what square means?
What I don't want to do
Is leave the White House so that you can be prosecuted?
is have it stolen from the American people.
It wasn't.
That's what we're fighting for,
Isn't it?
and we have no choice to be doing that.
We have no choice to be doing that.
Already have the proof. We already have the evidence.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much done. I mean, none of it, we haven't presented it in court because we just don't feel like it. I just don't know if I want to,
And it's very clear.
It is very clear.
Many people in the media and even judges so far have refused to accept it.
Except what? Your lack of evidence, your conjecture and psychotic rambling bullshit from your QAnon followers who signed an affidavit that they saw something that it doesn't, they're like, I could be wrong, but I think it was this, I found this very concerning. Well, this is why it happened. Is it really though? Yes, it is. Yeah, really? I'm supposed to believe that? Like that many? Yes, that's exactly. These are all registered voters. Sure they are. Like that's the legal argument they've been presenting in court.
They know it's true. They know it's there. They know who won the election.
Joe Biden.
But they refuse to say, you're right.
Why would they refuse to say you're right to someone who's wrong? I can't imagine.
Country needs somebody to say you're right.
Somebody.
They know it's there. They know who won the election. But they refuse to say, you're right. Our country needs somebody to say you're right. Ultimately,
Look at that edit. I don't know what the fuck we're talking about. Look at this edit.
they know who won the election. But they refuse to say,
You're right.
you're right. Our country needs somebody to say you're right.
You're right. You're wrong.
Ultimately, I am prepared to accept any accurate election result.
Well, bye.
And I hope that Joe Biden is as well. But we already have the proof. We already have tens of thousands of ballots more than we need
No, you don't.
to overturn all of these states that
No, you don't.
we're talking about.
No, you don't.
This,
If you go by that what these people saw or say they saw, they actually saw instead of believe they saw, and if indeed you have backup for any of those things, which they don't, we watched all of their cases. They're like, that was weird to me. Like, that's the extent of it. I thought I got these. I saw a bunch of envelopes of mail-in ballots going to Pennsylvania, addressed from people with return addresses on them, going to Pennsylvania. Well, is that because they're registered to vote and they live in Pennsylvania, but they were in New York because of quarantine? They're staying there, and and there's millions of people in New York City, and a lot of them come up from Philadelphia. And so 30,000 ballots, which physically looks like a lot, isn't in the context of a giant city like that. You think maybe that might be just the realistic, normal circumstance? And it's higher because we're in a pandemic? And it's not even an extraordinary number? Well, I mean, I guess it could be. Well, then shut the fuck up.
This is an election for the highest office in the greatest country
Well, I mean, no one's been higher than you while in office.
in the history of the world. Every reasonable American should be able to agree,
I'm reasonable, and I disagree.
based on what we have already documented,
You have documented nothing. You have a bunch of people who are expressing conjecture that things looked hinky to them, who already favor you to vote and were hoping you would, and in some cases were volunteering so they could throw it your way. Were there literally to be a bulwark against Biden voters.
that we need a systematic analysis of the mail-in ballots to review the envelopes. It's about the signature. And if they're on the envelopes, we can only review the envelopes.
Oh, God.
And that will tell us everything.
Won't it? Except for the fact that you don't know whether those envelopes voted for you or for Biden. So you'll see let's say you review the envelopes, which have been separated from the ballots. And you say, we don't like this one. We don't think these don't look right to me. Since the ballots have been separated, you don't know whether those were your voters or Biden's voters. So what are you going to go by? I'm going to go with black names. Right? Is that where you're going to start? That's what I thought.
This is the absolute minimum we should expect.
No.
This is not just about my campaign,
Yes, it is. It's only about your campaign and the fact that you lost.
although it has a lot to do with who's going to be your next president.
Joe Biden.
This is about restoring faith.
Because just the fact that you said next president itself proves that you're not. See, there wouldn't be no next president if you continue to be the president. You'd continue to be the president. You wouldn't be the next president. You'd still be the current president going forward. The only situation where there's a next president is if Joe Biden won. So, well.
Faith and confidence in American elections. This is about our democracy and the sacred rights that generations of Americans have fought, bled, and died to secure. Nothing is more urgent or more important. The only ballots that should count in this election are those cast by eligible voters who are citizens of our country, residents of the states in which they voted.
No, you can vote absentee if you're somewhere else, especially. So we should throw out all military votes. So let's just be abundantly clear. The president of the United States, who has just said he's not going to sign the National Defense Authorization Act because Twitter's being mean to him. On top of that, he doesn't want military votes to count at all. All military votes thrown out. Yeah. According to this president, I mean, they wholesale have to go.
Who cast their ballots in a lawful manner before the legal deadline. Moreover, we must never again have an election in which there is not a reliable and transparent system to verify the eligibility, identity, and residency of every single person who casts a ballot.
So present right now, please, a bill that you're going to shove through Congress in your last few days that has the federal government take over the entire election. Please say that's your main goal, that the federal government should control all federal elections. Just please, and get that through. Have Mitch McConnell run that right through.
A very, very cherished ballot. Many very smart people
Have stopped working for you?
have congratulated me on all we've done.
I'm going to need very possibly. I'm going to need you to explain your definition of very smart.
The biggest tax cuts in history, regulation cuts, the biggest in history. We rebuilt our military. We took care of our vets like never before.
VA choice was passed by Obama.
Space Force, and so much more.
And so much more.
But then they went on to say, as big and as important as these events were, the single greatest achievement in your presidency will be exactly what you're doing right now.
Stealing the election? Oh, is this a phone call from Putin? Is that what we're talking about? That's scuttling American democracy and putting doubt in our democratic structures? That's really what you were sent here for. I mean, it's really why you're in office, to just degrade the trust in the FBI and the DNI and the intelligence services in our own country, and even the functioning governors, whether they're Republican or Democrat, that, you know, running it all on the idea that everyone is deep state, and any career politicians or any career military are suspect immediately just for dedicating their lives to service. I mean, obviously sketchy as shit.
Voter integrity for our nation. It's more important than any of the things that we discussed.
That's right. And if you can leave office having proved that you lost, it'll be glorious. So please send your money in, maggots and Trumpsters. Send every last dime you have to the Donald J. Trump Victory Fund, which is what he's really calling it, because every dollar, over 8,000, goes to fight the good fight in courts. Well, not every dollar. 60 cents out of every dollar goes to the RNC, but 40 cents out of every dollar, over 8,000, goes to protect the integrity of the vote after he's finished paying the rent on his golf courses and, of course, shoring up the debts that he has in Mar-a-Lago. All that money is going to go straight to, well, 40% of it is going to go straight to, well, whatever doesn't go in Rudy Giuliani's pocket. And, you know, I'm sure the president will serve as his own lawyer and will pay himself a legal fee as well. Every single nickel past $8,001 will go to, of every dollar, the nickel of every dollar. After, will go to, I don't know how many she's going to, you just keep sending your money. He needs your money. Send it now. All of it. What are you waiting for? I don't know why you still, if you can't turn out your pockets and show nothing but white cloth, you are slacking and you don't love your president.
If we don't root out the fraud, the tremendous and horrible fraud that's taken place in our 2020 election, we don't have a country anymore.
Yeah, just like we don't have, if we don't have a wall, we don't have a country. Is that where we're going?
So with the resolve and support of the American people,
well, less than half of the electorate, but sure, okay.
we will restore honesty and integrity to our elections.
Oh, so you're conceding. That's nice.
And we will restore trust in our system of
Oh my God, he's firing Bill Barr.
government. Thank you. God bless you, and God bless America.
Criminy.
Thank you.
That was frigging brutal. That was a long one, kids. I apologize on that. Yeah, if you're late, you don't want me to start over on that shit. Holy God. This, I mean, basically he's just running his whole, yeah, let's see. I want to go to, where is it? Because I think FactBase had him another, yeah. Oh, it's Kayleigh McEnany. Ooh, leaked remarks. Let's end on this. Hold on. What? I didn't even know this was going on. Wait a second. Look at this. You can tell it's a real party from the fucking Christmas decorations. This is leaked remarks. Donald Trump speaks at a private White House holiday party yesterday. I don't know what we'll be able to hear, but we'll end on this. Thank you guys for viewing. Appreciate it. Love you guys. I will see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow's, of course, 4 o'clock Pacific time. I do it later because of Thursday's family FaceTime day, of course. And so I would, if you guys can, if you want to come back, it's just an hour later we start on Thursdays. And I love you for showing up and I appreciate it. Let's go out on a lovely note. Sting from his new album. We'll fucking do it live. Oh.
We won an election, but they don't like that, and a lot of things happen.
We won an election, but they don't like that, he said.
I I call it a rigged election, and
I call it a rigged election because he coins phrases. It's amazing. He missed his calling. He should have gone into branding.
and whether people like to hear it or not, that's what it was. But we won the election, did a great job. Everybody did a really great job. And you look at the economy today, you look at what's happening, you look at the vaccines that are coming, and they're coming rapidly. Nobody's ever, I will say, it's been said by many, a medical miracle. We would have had it out 5-6 years before they got a vaccine.
Somebody's laughing at him like it's a medical miracle that we got this out so fast. I mean, it hasn't passed all of its safety measures at all. You can create a vaccine very quickly. It's the testing, the safety that takes so goddamn long. But by eliminating that,
And we did it.
medical miracle. Basically, it's a Christmas miracle. It's Christmas, Theo. It's time for miracles.
But it's been an amazing 4 years. We're trying to do another 4 years. Otherwise, I'll see you.
Great. Somebody has COVID right there. Holy shit. Listen to that. Listen.
It's an amazing 4 years. We're trying to do another 4 years. Otherwise, I'll see you.
That sounds good. Yeah, that's how you can tell it's a real White House party and this isn't being faked. This is an honest to good one because it wouldn't be genuine if I saw him speaking at a Christmas party and someone wasn't hacking a COVID hack. I would go, this is fake. Whoa, that's it. That's the view from behind the shrubbery. We want another shrubbery. Thank you guys so much for hanging out, especially our regulars and the wonderful folks that join us every single day. I appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for all the support and love during this time. It's been great as we lead into the holidays. Take some time to, there's no bum rush in this situation. You can just kind of take a little time in the next few days, especially after all the craziness we've been through, to sit and look out a window for a little bit. Listen to some music on an LP if you have one. As Biden says, put the record on the record player, and which you can do nowadays because we're that hip. But if you're going to go out, wear a mask, wash your hands, cough into your elbow if you do, and if you have any symptoms, stay home. If you come in contact with somebody, stay home for at least that window. We got to stop this. What is effectively the peak of the first wave that's becoming a second wave, and the only way we do that is the virus itself has to have a life and death cycle that plays itself out before it finds that next branch to grab onto and make its way through the community. So if you have absolutely any chance of you've encountered any of these, anybody who has it, or you think you might have it, or you've just been lackadaisical, get tested, stay home, clean all your common surfaces, stop it from its expansion as best you can, out of the love of your fellow countrymen and as a patriotic act. And I will see you guys tomorrow. I adore you. Thanks for hanging out. Don't forget, they've the Sexy Liberal, package where you can watch all the specials has gone on sale. sexyliberal.com/tour is all the details and stuff, but it's all the episodes for $49.95, I think is what it is. And then we've got some cool stuff coming up. And then of course I have a show, Flappers, this Sunday. I'm doing it via Zoom. I was supposed to do it in the actual room, but because of the new California lockdown standards, I'm just going to be doing it from here. It will be hilarious. I have no doubt. I don't know the material I'm doing because that's not how I do my Flapper shows. It's as new to me as it is to you. So please join me if you can, flapperscomedy.com. And then, of course, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else. And remember, chat room, I'm thinking about you a lot. Just know that a lot of you pass through my gourd every day. So be well.